Yes. Soon it will bring you peace.
Characters with pronounceable names.
Come on. You're reading the wrong guy if you want that. That's not, you can't pronounce anything.
I like names that sound very similar to a real name, but one different spelling. Just like one letter difference. So then when you're reading, you realize you've been saying the wrong name for the past 15 years.
Right. Okay.
Where's the best place for content on the world of Ice and Fire?
Right over there. See where I am pointing with my dagger? I just found
Sporking News Podcast. With me, Sporking. Make sure you like and subscribe.
Roar. What's up, everybody? It is Tuesday night. Yeah, Tuesday night, and we are doing a Spork of Ice and Fire. So come with us on this great journey of the prologue of A Clash of Kings, where George likes to use someone we've never heard of before to introduce new main characters or plot lines you didn't even realize he was introducing. He uses hidden storytelling. I just thought of that while I was doing the title, but it truly is hidden storytelling to set up things that may happen in the next book or the book after, or the book Winds of Winter or Never Spring. But we are going to read a prologue for A Clash of Kings, where we get to meet one of the more important characters in the book, from a maester's point of view. And with me tonight, we have the lovely, the beautiful Mr. Grant Gregory. How are you, sir?
Doing good. Happy to be here and talk some Song of Ice and Fire. And yes, I mean, everyone should know the tale of Maester Crescent. I think I'm saying Crescent.
Yes.
Yep.
If they do it in the show, to be like, and we'll be like, oh man, I totally
blew. And
it'll be like,
he'll be a black trans midget.
Yeah, and it'll be Clark. But truly,
I like this one. I think for me, there's a lot of thing like magic versus reason. I think is a very strong theme that they go with it, and a lot of like political conflict as well, setting things up. I think it works quite well. And also we get the introduction of Melisandre as well. So
yes, that's who I was kind of setting up there, but thank you for telling everybody.
Okay.
It's true. I mean, we see it from Crescent's point of view, which is very interesting because we're like, who is this person and what is the hell is going on? But we also have let me introduce Tina, please. She's here. We also have the banker of the mafia, Tina Bojan.
Hello, everybody. I hope you're all having a great week. It's warming up for a little bit. We had almost freezing temperatures last week in Chicagoland, and now it's back up into the high 60s. So yay us! But I loved this prologue. I kept asking myself, well, you know what, maybe Crescent doesn't like Melisandre just because he doesn't like uppity women or educated women or anything like that. But then I got reminded of, the fact that when, Crescent Falls coming into the hall near the end of the prologue, and she just, totally emasculates him by putting Patchface's little helmet crown thing on his head, and I'm like, okay, then she is kind of a bitch. All right.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, she takes, and we'll discuss it when we talk about it, but she takes a man who pretty much raised the Baratheon brothers, and brings him to the point where he's ready to take his own life and her life to save Stannis from this Red Witch. It's a really great. It's one of his prologues and epilogues are amazing. I wish we had an epilogue of Game of Thrones, and I was thinking about doing the very last chapter, which is Dany's, which to me is the epilogue because it starts with magic, has really no magic in the book, and then ends with a magical moment. So in my mind, it was almost like an epilogue, but maybe if people out there really want to hear it, we'll read it one of these other weeks. But Jane, I don't know how y'all do it down south, but spaghetti is Sunday and Wednesday nights. Wednesday. I mean, didn't you ever see those commercials? Prince
Well, it's
Spaghetti time?
Wednesday. It's Wednesday over here, so technically
Oh.
Shane's right. So
Okay.
yeah.
And
Oh.
I'm wrong. He says, YouTube told me early about the show this time because I set it up only like 20 minutes before. Maybe that's what I need to do. Hooray for YouTube. But we are live right now on YouTube. We are live on X, and the Rumble. So please make sure you follow us on all those aspects. There's links in the description. I don't even know if you can still use links in the description, but I put them there. But yeah, so we kind of started talking about it. This prologue is really our introduction to more than one character. I mean, we hear about, we meet Maester Crescent. We find out Melisandre, who she is kind of from a Maester's point of view. But then we also finally hear I believe, I didn't even reread this, so I'm guessing, but see Stannis Baratheon, who we only hear about in the Stannis is the one that the minute he finds out the minute Jon Arryn dies, he's gone. He takes off because he assumes someone murdered him. He does not believe, and I don't know if he ever states that, but I believe he believes that Jon Arryn was killed.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. I'm from memory. I'm pretty sure that's how it is. I mean, like his whole family's essentially introduced. I think, yeah, they mentioned Renly. I think,
Yes.
Renly gets a mention. Yeah.
Oh no, I thought Renly was in the first book, isn't he? Yeah, Renly's in the first. Yeah, no, Renly's in the first book because he after. When Robert gets hurt, he tells Ned to take the children into his custody.
Oh yeah, true. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So it's only Stannis of the Baratheon brothers we don't meet in the first book,
Yeah.
which George did intentionally because he has, he is the true king of Westeros, so he has to introduce him after the fact. Yeah, I mean, if you really think about it, everybody else is a usurper after Robert dies. It should be Renly. Or Stannis.
Wow, that was a bit of a slip up.
Yeah,
Tyrells
right.
got to you, did they?
Do we think that Stannis left because he thinks that Jon Arryn was murdered? Is that his sole reason, or is he more upset that he wasn't asked to be Hand of the King, on top of the fact that he's worried about the murder? Like, I wasn't sure which was more of a driver than the other.
I believe, doesn't he leave something for Ned? Sends a note for Ned or leaves Ned. It's something. I just remember he was very he was upset about most likely the Hand of the King. But I also think he thought there was, and if anybody in the chat knows better, please let us know. I've only read the books like twice and gone over these chapters like a million times, but I want to say that he also thought that the Lannisters had something to do with his death. Because he saw how they were isolating Robert. I mean, he was pretty much, except for his two brothers, surrounded by Lannister men. Everybody else were Lannister men of some sort. Littlefinger, even Varys was a kind of a overstay or someone from the previous, administration, the previous king. But I think the brothers realized you can't trust him. You can't trust Peter. Peter had a relationship with Liza, like from childhood. So everybody was surrounding. So I think Stannis is the most chromatic. Am I saying that right? And he's just the one that really like sees what's going on, realizes there's issues, but everybody else is so into their own shit that they don't see what's happening. I think Stannis sees the bigger picture better than most.
Yeah, because I'm not too sure what chapter it was, but in Clash of Kings, it is mentioned that he has his suspicions about it, and it was Ned's letter that basically confirmed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the reason that he probably was killed.
Yeah.
So
Jacob from Society Reviews, haven't seen you in a while, buddy. Actually was going to reach out to you in a couple weeks. I have an idea, but I'll talk to you about that. Cersei was plotting Robert's death. She basically admitted it to Ned in the first season. Well, season. We're talking book. But we're supposed to believe in the first book, Game of Thrones, that it is, and for a while, that the death of Robert or John Arryn was the Lannisters doing. Cersei, Jaime, maybe Tywin, because that's what Littlefinger and Lysa want us to believe.
yeah,
Lysa sends the letter to her sister. Peter tells her what to put in there, which forces Ned's hand to become the hand.
it just goes to show you how smart Littlefinger is, because he points he points his little finger at the Lannisters, and there's no reason for anyone not to. It's like, yeah, of course they benefited from it. Like, so like he's fully aware of the parentage of them. And it was also him that spoke to Ned before he was going looking for stuff.
Well, he was also working with John Arryn.
Yeah.
Stannis was also working with John Arryn because he knew, like you just said, he knew that they were not Robert's children.
Yeah.
So
he
thought he was going to be killed next. So that's why he left.
Suspicions from one hand of the king. That hand of the king dies,
Yep.
and then it gets confirmed by the next hand of the king.
Right.
And then he gets killed, so he's just like, I have to act now because we don't have another hand of the king coming in. Who are they going to replace it with?
Yep. Brian brings up, and first, Miss Martin Muses says, I'm still with you, folks, and we love you for that. Thank you. Brian McCann says, Scott, do you think the mountain will survive the books? The mountain's dead.
Yeah.
He's a zombie or a white, or he's a scientifically made white.
But he's definitely not as strong.
He is not as strong. He is not as strong. May look like a strong, but is not a strong boy. So we're going to read the prologue, and I'll read it, and hopefully you guys will enjoy our conversation. And please make sure you get involved in the chat. Let us know what you're thinking while we're reading, any ideas from what we're reading. You two stop me at any time. George R. R. Martin, A Clash of Kings Prologue. The comet's tail spread across the dawn. Oh, let's go back to that. The comet is still with us. So in Game of Thrones, we start seeing the comet at the very end, right? Because I don't know, early on, because doesn't old Nan say comets mean dragons? I think she's the one that tells, because she's always right.
Well, yeah, she's Nettles. So
you'd
know about dragons. So no, I think that's what she said. That means the dragons have come back, or magic's come back to the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In a way of saying magic, but I'm pretty sure she says dragons. And then throughout this book, I believe we get multiple different people telling us what they believe, what the coming of a red comet means. What prophecies they know, what their culture. It's kind of interesting how George makes this red comet kind of like a symbol to different people, and it kind of maybe motivates different people. Like I want to say Melisandre believes it's the coming of Azor Ahai, and that's Stannis to her. It's one of the symbols that Azor Ahai will return. So like Stannis's whole story from here on is because of this red comet and this red witch. But always believe old Nan. Old Nan is always right. She might tell us
I
that in
believe
this
so.
book. I don't remember. Maybe she tells us in this book. All right.
When
Anyways,
when were the glass candles introduced?
oh, that's not until not the next one. The next one's Varamir Six Skins, right? And then the one after that.
Yeah.
So you got this Clash of Kings, then A Feast for Crows, right? Hold on, sorry. I always get my order mixed up. A Storm of Swords, probably. Yeah, okay. A Clash of Kings, a Storm of Swords, A Feast for Crows. I believe that's when we get the first mention
Yeah.
of glass candles.
Yeah, because that was also the other symbol that the dragons have returned, the magic's returned.
Right. If you
Because the
can,
mates have to try and that's one of their tasks to go in there and try and light one of the candles.
well, it's to light one of the candles. That's how that no one ever had, or no one has in centuries. But it's one of the things you have to try to do to get your Valerian steel link. And only a few maesters have that.
According to the Wiki of Ice and Fire,
Thank you.
in A Clash of Kings, after Dany defeats the Undying, she is told that glass candles that had not burned in 100 years are now burning in the house of Urathon Nightwalker.
I forgot about Urathon Nightwalker. Who the hell is that?
Yeah,
He's just an inhabitant of Karth, is pretty much his little description here.
And after the House of the Undying, she goes through the Red Waste, or the wastelands, and ends up in Karth. So that's interesting. I don't remember that character off the top of my head, though.
Yeah, I'm looking at him now. He's an inhabitant of Karth, known primarily for the House of the Undying.
Mm-hmm. What up, Mason?
Yeah.
Littlefinger plotted to kill Robert, Ned, etc.
Yep. It's Zaro Zoan Doxus is the one who tells him about the glass candle burning at Urathon Nightwalker's house.
Right. Okay. So this will go back to one of the theories that's actually Euron.
Right.
Yeah. So
yeah, because he's been all over the world. So at that point, he might have been in Karth in the harbor, because that's the biggest harbor in that area of the world. I don't remember where Brian put here. Littlefinger plotted to kill Ned, Robert, Ned, etc. Cat helped Littlefinger. That letter in first book to Cat was about their plan, right? Because she burns it and doesn't let Ned read it. And the maester there is the one she brought from River Run, Maester Lewin. Gurm admitted it. I don't remember that. She helped kill her husband, Evil. I'm not one not to say that theory is true, because I believe everything she does is counterproductive to what Ned needed. She makes him go down to become the Hand, because he was going to just write it off and be like, he's my friend, he'll understand, he'll get mad, and then we'll, whatever. And she's like, you don't know Robert the King. And then when he tells her, when the shit hits the fan, he gives her like 3 things to do. Go tell Rob to call the banners. Keep Theon close, because we might need his father's ship. And then one other thing, I don't know if it's Kate.
And she's like, or I could just run off.
Yeah, or I could do everything that's not this. And that's what she does.
I think when he says that George admitted it, that was, how they have the pre-release books that people can read in the library. I think that was a note in that
right.
I can't even remember the guy he's got the YouTube channel.
Yep, I know who you're talking about. The one that Preston did. Yeah. The guy found all these, the first drafts of all the books.
Yeah,
and I think that's what it was.
A note from an editor or something like that. I'm pretty sure that's what that was when he says that he admitted it. So
yeah, but we also got. Oh, go ahead, please.
I was saying there is a note that said in the 1997 draft of A Clash of Kings, maesters must attempt the lighting ritual every morning with their own glass candles, and
Mhm.
Maester Cresson successfully lights a candle coinciding with the arrival of the Red Comet, and Tyrion sees Grand Maester Pycelle's glass candle burning.
Oh, that does not happen, but that's interesting.
Yeah.
Huh. All right, let's
Or
read
it
this
did
bad boy.
happen and he hasn't put it in yet, because a lot of the stuff that he takes out, he puts back in later.
Right. That's very true. And a little thanks to Grant for the background. I think it's freaking cool as hell. The comet's tail spread across the dawn. Dawn, one of the first words in the first lines. A red slash that bled above the crags of Dragonstone like a wound in the pink and purple sky. The maester stood on the wind-swept balcony outside his chambers. It was here the ravens came after long flight. Their droppings speckled the gargoyles that rose 12 feet tall on either side of him, a hellhound and a wyvern, two of the thousand that how do we say this? Brooded. Thank you.
Brooded.
There's certain words I just stumble over. Brooded
Rural.
you jerk. Over the walls, either side of him. A hellhound. Oh, I already read that. Over the walls of the ancient fortress. When first he came to Dragonstone, the army of stone grotesques.
Grotesques.
Thank you. Had made him uneasy. But as the years passed, he had grown used to them. Now he thought of them as old friends. The three of them watched the sky together with foreboding. The maester did not believe in omens, and yet, old as he was, Cresson had never seen a comet half so bright, nor yet that color, that terrible color, the color of blood and flame and sunsets. He wondered if his gargoyles had ever seen it like it's like. They had been here so much longer than he had, and would still be here long after he was gone, if stone tongues could speak. Such folly. He leaned against the battlement, the sea crashing beneath him, the black stone rough beneath his fingers, talking gargoyles and prophecies in the sky. I am an old, done man, grown giddy as a child again. Had a lifetime's hard-won wisdom fled him along with his health and strength? He was a maester, trained and chained in the great citadel of Old Town. What he had come to when superstition filled his head as if he were an ignorant field hand. And yet, the comet burned even by day now, while pale gray steam rose from the hot vents of Dragonmount behind the castle. And yestermorn, a white raven had brought word from the citadel itself, word long expected, but no less fearful for all that. Word of summer's end, omens, all. Too many to deny. What does it all mean? He wanted to cry. Okay, so just for people that don't know, so you have ravens that bring letters, messages, different things from different houses, the kingdom, whatever. Those are black ravens. Only the white ravens are released at the turn of a season, because the seasons in a Song of Ice and Fire in Westeros are warped. So a summer can last 9 years, and fall can then only last maybe 2 or 15 or 5, so we never know how long it is. So this has been a very long summer. And now
I don't know why. When I
What?
remembered it, I thought it was freaking dubs.
Yeah, because you think white.
Yeah,
But no, there's
they're
special
racist.
white ravens.
It's interesting that you would have ravens that were old enough to have been trained to go places that they were sent, but then but not so old that are I'm
I
saying this
understand what you
horribly
mean.
wrong.
But they would
No.
forget
Yeah,
where to go.
yeah, exactly. If it has been 7 years since the last winter, how did these ravens live long enough to know how to get to the
I want to
castles?
know how the whole network works. Like, is there someone that trains them to fly in a certain thing, or do the birds train each other? Like, so say for instance, you've got like a group of messages or letters that you've got to get from Winterfell to say, King's Landing. Do they just send the one? Do they
Well,
send 10?
okay, so there is somewhere where it's spoken about. I don't know if it's in the main story or the Hedge Knight or whatever, but there are certain birds that only know how to get to one spot and back. They're trained that way by the maesters. But there are other there's other ravens that are smart enough to be able to go to multiple spots and back. But I hear you on the white ones. The white ones are weird because if it's been 9 years, is it the same raven that flew to tell them summer? I think summer's maybe even been longer than that because Bran has never seen a winter. He's never seen any of that. He's a summer child,
No,
He's
it
9?
makes sense that the white ravens would be smarter than
Yeah.
the black ravens
And they're
because of the
bigger.
fact that that whole albino
Racist
thing.
much?
Well, no, because the whole albino thing. It's like, if, for
Yeah.
example, I don't know if you've ever raised birds, but the parakeets we had that were
Course.
yellow, all yellow or all white with red eyes, they were always the easiest to train.
Blood Raven. That'd be cool. Get one and name it Blood Raven. You have to take out one of its eyes though. And we get our first
that.
donation of the night with a super sticker from Miss Martin Muses. Oh. And it is a rose. Thank you. You are a rose, Miss Martin says. You are a rose. It may be their first flight. Yeah, I don't know how they train them. I mean, you have certain maesters that they're dedicated to the ravens. Maybe you walk them on a leash or
It
let
says
them
here, it says
follow another one.
most ravens are trained to fly to a specific castle, but some can be taught to fly between two castles and are
Right.
therefore greatly prized. Maybe once in a century, a particularly clever raven may be able to fly to as many as 5 castles upon command.
Wow, that would
Yeah,
be
to get some
definitely a
corn.
special one. Yeah.
Mhm.
Now,
Yeah, but like I hope it's a weird thing, but from the time that I started reading, I wondered how they train them, because it's not like, what do they ride on horse with them and just say, this, you got to go this way? Like,
If they do it like homing pigeons, I think you go, they know that their home is like, at the castle, so you take them further and further and further away and they can get back home.
Yeah, it has to be a training
the way that I would
thing.
look at it, it would be faster than we would be able to send something by mail now with cars. The way in which they get messages there. So, and if it's going by House of the Dragon logic, it's almost like instant messaging.
Well, that's Game of Thrones too.
Yeah.
I could say that, the reason it's faster is because they can go direct. How you train a bird to do that? That's a good question, because you're not able to go direct sometimes. Like, oh, that part of the river we can't cross, so we have to go down, So that's a good question. I wonder how he decided. Fully healed? I don't know if I'm fully healed, Parrot Head, but thank you for asking. Right now I'm dealing with a locked up ignition in my car. I had to get my car towed to my house today after I stopped at freaking Cumberland Farms. But I am a man of many talents, and one is somehow I got the damn thing out, and now I just have to figure out how to unlock it from the little part it's in so I can mess with the tumblers. What is up, Mr. Walton? How are you? Ravens and crows are smart. Never trust a crow. Old Nan. All right. Anything else in that beginning part? He did say up here, where was it? Ned mentioned none of the children have seen a winter, and John's the oldest at the beginning of this at 15. So, yeah, none of them have seen a winter. I mean, we could say maybe that was spring, but if you can look up to see when, like in the first book, how long has summer been going? That'd be kind of interesting to find out. I want to say it's 9 years, but I could be wrong. Yes, Parrot Head, he truly is. And if you don't believe me, I don't have it on this brand. He's lucky. Okay, let's move on.
So in the
It says
first
at
book,
the-
it doesn't say a specific year; it just says nearly a decade.
Okay,
Because according to A Song of Ice and Fire Wikipedia, at the beginning of Game of Thrones, 15 years have passed since Robert's Rebellion, with a 9-year-long summer coming to an
hey,
end.
I got it. 9 years.
Ooh.
So when John was born, it was spring. We don't know how long that spring was. And then Bran is 9. That's why they call him a summer child, because he's never seen anything but summer. It's pretty interesting to think about, like how harsh we're told the winters are in the north, and none of these kids, like, how do you prepare a kid who's never seen snow like that? Like, they've seen snow because it's the north, but it's like maybe a spring snow. I don't even know if Bran has seen snow unless he's gone far north with his dad. Freaking awesome. I love the way he built this world. Let's move on though. Maester Crescent, we have a visitor. Pylos spoke softly, as if loath to disturb Crescent's solemn meditations. He had known what drivel filled his head. He would have shouted, "The princess would see the white raven." Ever correct. Pylos called her princess now, as her lord father was a king of smoking rock in the great salt sea, yet a king nonetheless. Her fool is with her. The old man turned away from the dawn, keeping a hand on his wyvern to steady himself. "Help me to my chair and show them in." Taking his arm, Pylos led him inside. In his youth, Crescent had walked briskly, but he was not far from his 80th name day now, and his legs were frail and unsteady. 2 years past, he had fallen and shattered his hip, and it had never mended properly. Last year, when he took ill, the Citadel had sent Pylos out from Old Town, mere days before Lord Stannis had closed the Isle, to help him in his labors. It was said, but Crescent knew the truth. Pylos had come to replace him when he died. He did not mind. Someone must take his place, and sooner than he would like. He let the younger man settle him behind his books and papers. "Go bring her. It is ill to keep a lady waiting." He waved a hand, a feeble gesture of haste from a man no longer capable of hastening. Sure. His flesh was wrinkled and spotted, the skin so paperly thin that he could see the web of veins in the shape of bones beneath, and how they trembled, these hands of his that had once been so sure and deft. When Pylos returned, the girl came with him, shy as ever, behind her, shuffling and hopping in that queer sideways walk of his, came her fool. On his head was a mock helm fashioned from an old tin bucket, with a rack of deer antlers strapped to the crown and hung with cowbells. With his ever lurching step, the bells rang, each with a different voice, clang a dong, bong dong, ring a ling, clong clong. I'll read this. "Who comes to see us so early?" Pylos Crescent said. Now, this is something I never noticed till just now. He had a helm. It was pretty much to mock, make fun of. He was a fool, but it had a rack of deer antlers on it because, okay, they're House Baratheon. They're the stag, the crown stag now, but there's other men that have antlers on them that are supposedly no more than usual men. And that's the Order of the Green Hand, most likely. We believe they have these antlers. They may be men, we don't really know, but we're told that most likely people believe they're just suits of armor with antlers. Now, we come to find out later that this fool, Patchface, is prophetic. And I wonder if that's like giving us a little sign of what the Order of the Green Men are. They're prophetic. They they read into with their ability to tap into the Weirwood net, like the future, the past, the present, everything. Just something I noticed. It's probably not true, but whatever. I thought that was kind of neat. Anything with you guys? It's kind of
I like
just,
that correlation. I didn't think
yeah,
about it. I just assumed the Baratheon part. I didn't think about it until now.
I never
Yeah.
did either until just now. What is that? And
Onomatopoeia.
what's that?
So onomatopoeia is the word that we use for a sound. You know, like ding for a bell. That is an onomatopoeia. Boom, bang.
Oh, I never knew that. I'm a little slow. That's cool.
Yeah, and apparently, the one of the most common things to be named with onomatopoeia are birds, like the cuckoo
Oh,
or the sizzle bird and stuff. Yeah,
because they make sounds like that.
yeah, exactly. So they're named
Okay,
after the sounds they make. Sorry.
like a woodpecker. No. Okay. Let's go on. It's me and Patches, Mace. It's me and Patches, Maester. Uh, Guilyless. Correct?
Guileless.
Guileless. Blue eyes blinked at him. What does that mean? Guileless. Does anybody know the definition of that word?
Like
Uh,
cunning.
No.
yeah, I
Huh?
always thought it was shifty.
Oh, maybe
Yeah.
shifty because it would be Patchface
Oh,
has blue
and it
eyes,
says
or is it her?
guileless. It says guileless, so not having guile.
And Guile is shifty.
And guile is being cunning or shifty.
So
Okay, that's her.
innocent without
Almost like saying
deception.
Innocent
Thank you.
without deception. Okay. Lion should be called the Roar. Okay, I'm with you. I'm feeling it. See, we're learning things here, people. I'm a little slow, so guileless. Okay, that's awesome. Blue eyes blinked at him. Hers was not a pretty face, alas. The child had her lord father's square jut of jaw and her mother's unfortunate ears, along with a disfigurement all her own. The legacy of the bout of grayscale that had almost claimed her in the crib. Across half one cheek and well down her neck, her flesh was stiff and dead. The skin cracked and flaking, molted black and gray and stony to the touch. Pylos said we might see the white raven. So this is the first time we hear about grayscale. And it is something that I think will be a major factor later on. But, we might just learn how to cure it by peeling it. That's what the show would tell you.
I just don't know why anyone hadn't figured that out before.
You know what I mean? Like, I believe, I don't know if it's this chapter or later on, Stannis literally had healers from all over the world come to save his daughter. And one was able to finally, we never find out exactly how they stopped it, because in children, they can survive, or if it just happened that she survived. But you would think one of them would have thought of peeling it off.
Were any of them from House Tully?
You know what? Probably not.
No, that's your problem.
Yep. All right. Indeed you may, Crescent answered, as if he would ever deny her. She had been denied too often in her time. Her name was Shireen. She would be 10 on her next name day, and she was the saddest child that Maester Crescent had ever known. Her sadness is my shame, the old man thought, another mark of my failure. Maester Pylos, do me a kindness and bring the bird down from the rookery for the Lady Shireen. It would be my pleasure. Pylos was a polite youth, no more than 25, yet solemn as a man of 60. If only he had more humor, more life in him. That was what was needed here. Grim places need lighting, not solemnity.
Solemnity.
Thank you. And Dragonstone was a grim beyond a doubt. A lonely citadel in the wet waste, surrounded by storm and salt, with the smoking shadow of the mountain at its back. So we get storm, salt, smoking. Remember that. I mean, Dragonstone fills a major part of the Azor Ahai prophecy right there. a
So
mist.
when he says surrounded by salt, he's talking about the ocean, correct?
Correct,
Mhm.
but it's not actually surrounded though,
That's
which
what
is
I
weird.
mean. Like, yeah,
And maybe it's just the salt in the air, from the salt water, because it's a very always a very hard current. So there's probably crashing waves, salt in the air. Maybe, I don't know. Oh no, wait a minute, Dragonstone. He's on Dragonstone, not Storm's End. So yeah, this is an island. So yeah, he's
yeah,
correct.
okay.
I'm thinking Storm's End. Sorry. Um,
Because it had the word storm there. I get it.
yeah, it totally took me out of the place where we were, and it's Baratheon. So in my head, I was thinking when he takes Storm's End later. A maester must go where he is sent. So Crescent had come here with his lord some 20 years ago, or 12 years ago, years past, and he had served and served well. Yet he had never loved Dragonstone, nor ever felt truly at home here. Of late, when he woke from restless dreams in which the Red Woman figured disturbingly, he often did not know where he was. The fool turned his patched and piebald head to watch Pylos climb the steep iron steps to the rookery. His bells rang with the motion. Under the sea, the birds have scales for feathers, he said, clang a lang. I know, oh, oh, oh. Even for a fool, Patchface was a sorry thing. Perhaps once he could evoke gales of laughter with a quip, but the sea had taken that power from him, along with half his wits and all his memory. He was a soft and obese, subject to twitches and trembles, incoherent as often as not. The girl was the only one who laughed at him now, the only one who cared if he lived or died. And an ugly little girl and a sad fool, a maester makes three. Now there is a tale to make men weep. Sit with me, child. Crescent beckoned her closer. This is early to come calling. Scarce past dawn. You should be snug in your bed. I had a bad dream, Shireen told him, about the dragons. They were coming to eat me. Ah,
What was coming to eat her?
dragons.
The flames, maybe.
Maybe.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe that was a.
'Cause we're still assuming that that's going to happen, right? Like in the
Yeah. I mean, yes, not the way in the book or in the show. I can't see Stannis. He's not even with her. So if they do something, it would be
hopefully it's
on
not. Hopefully it's not just for one day worth of good weather.
right, and it'll probably be come from the queen. You know what I mean? Like because she's so
Mhm.
devout to the Red Witch. I could
Yeah.
see her being the one that Melisandre tells her we need to sacrifice her or your husband will fall or something like that. And really, she's
What?
doing it to try to bring John back or some shit.
Yeah. What do you make of the under the sea? The birds have scales for feathers.
I
I
don't know
know. I
if that's
know.
one. That's the thing. I don't know if this is one of his prophecies because usually it's a little longer. It's usually the next line that gives you something else that tells you what he's talking about. But he's always talking backwards. So if the birds have scales for feathers, yeah, under the sea, the birds have scales for feathers. I don't know if that means anything in this part. So,
So the way that I interpret it is there's something that's in the sea that shouldn't be there. You know, you
it,
think birds don't belong in the sea.
right.
Something that stands out that not necessarily to do with the sea itself, but like someone is there that shouldn't be there. Someone's where they don't belong. That's the way that I always interpreted
Or,
that.
or it's something that you're used to not seeing in the sea, but a version of it. Like
Yeah,
because the birds in the ocean have scales instead of feathers. So,
yeah.
is he talking about flying fish? What is he really talking about there? There could be something, I mean, it is a prologue. So what could it be? Um, but I always felt like it was the second part of what he says that pulls it all together. So,
The fool's
uh,
blood, king's blood part.
oh, my son's here to say goodnight. So give me a second. Talk amongst
Good
yourselves.
night, son.
Say goodnight. Say goodnight. Oh, okay.
And I'm not sleepy.
He's not sleepy.
Yeah.
Oh, you got
yeah,
hurt? All right, I got to take care of a foot. I'll be back
All
in
right.
2.
Okay. Oh no. Can Daddy fix the foot as good as Mommy? Only Mommy's kisses have magic medicine, right?
Yeah. Sometimes. It really depends. Depends on how badly she hurts herself, and then it's just like, all right, now it's Daddy's turn.
Oh no, that
Oh,
kid knows. I don't even have to give him a kiss. I just have to and then touch the part and he's like, "I'm better."
Yep.
aw.
Yeah, right.
Oh, better.
Birds have scales. Thank you, Parrot Head. It's nice of you, brother. Well, let's keep an eye on that. Maybe we'll figure it out. All right. I had a bad dream about the dragons. They were coming to eat me. The child had been plagued by nightmares as far back as Maester Crescent could recall. We have talked of this before, he said gently. The dragons cannot come to life. They are carved of stone, child. In olden days, our island was the westernmost outpost of the great freehold of Valeria. It was the Valerians who raised this citadel, and they had ways of shaping stone since lost to us. A castle must have towers wherever two walls meet at an angle for defense. The Valerians fashioned these towers in the shape of dragons to make their fortress seem more fearsome, just as they crowned their walls with 1,000 gargoyles instead of a simple
Crenellation.
crenellation. Oh, I said it right. All right, crenellations. He took
Yeah.
her, yeah, he took her small pink hand in his own frail spotted one and gave it a gentle squeeze. So you see, there is nothing to fear. Shireen was unconvinced. What about the thing in the sky? Dala, and Matris. I hate people. We're talking by the well, and Dala said she heard the red woman tell Mother that it was dragon's breath. If the dragons are breathing, doesn't that mean they were coming to life? The red woman, Maester Crescent thought sourly. Ill enough that she's filled the head of the mother with her madness, must she poison the daughter's dreams as well? He would have a stern word with Dala, warn her not to spread such tales. The thing in the sky is a comet, sweet child, a star with a tail lost in the heavens. It will be gone soon enough, never to be seen again in our lifetimes. Watch and see. Shireen gave a brave little nod. Mother said the white raven means it's not summer anymore. This is so, my lady. The white raven fly only from the citadel. Crescent's fingers went to the chain about his neck, each link forged from different metal, each symbolizing his mastery of another branch of learning. The maester's collar, mark of his order. In the pride of his youth, he had worn it easily, but now it seemed heavy to him, the metal cold against his skin. They are larger than other ravens and more clever, bred to carry only the most important messages. This one came to tell us that the conclave has met, considered the reports and measurements made by maesters all over the realm, and declared this great summer done at last. 10 years, 2 turns, and 16 days it lasted. The longest summer in living memory. 10 years, 2 turns. So what is that, months? Probably.
2 turntables and a microphone.
Yeah. Will will it get cold now? Shireen was a summer child and had never known true cold. In time, Crescent replied, if the gods are good, they will grant us a warm autumn and a bountiful harvest. So we might prepare for the winter to come. The small folks said that a long summer meant an even longer winter, but the maesters saw no reason to frighten the child with such tales. Oh, here we go. Patchface rang his bells. It is always summer under the sea, he intoned. The merwives were nenemones in their hair and weave gowns of silver seaweed. I know. Oh, oh, oh. Shireen giggled. I should like a gown of silver seaweed. Under the sea it snows up, said the fool, and the rain is dry as bone. I know. Oh, oh, oh. Now, does any of that mean anything? Because
I don't
everything's like
know.
opposite, with him.
Well, Jane has a theory on the first part of it in
Okay.
the chat.
Oh, and it is also a super chat. Thank you, Jane, for $5. Jane Theory. I'm calling it Birds Under the Sea are Dragons Under the Control of Euron. It's a prophecy.
That makes sense.
I mean, if dragons can
Dragons
go
have
under the
scales.
water,
They
yeah,
fly.
exactly. Holy shit. I mean, maybe not under the control of Euron, but definitely they could be the bird he's talking about.
Well, I reckon if Euron has gone to Old Valyria or anything like that, there could be a legitimate reason that he brought back a dragon egg.
Mm-hmm.
He might actually have a dragon. That might be what is being set up in the last two books.
Who, Euron?
Yeah,
Actually having a live dragon or a dragon egg?
either one.
Yeah, because if it is the egg, he might be doing that sacrifice,
That's what I'm
not to
saying.
bring a kraken, but to
To be
raise a
bringing
dragon.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, everything is opposite, so he could be just the birds under the sea. Doesn't mean it's under the sea. The birds have scales, so he is probably talking about dragons, and she brings it up right after. I had dreams
Yeah.
about dragons, or did she say it before and he answered it? Hold on.
Also, I don't know what Nenimones is.
Yeah, me either.
That's one thing I've never been able to
Anemones.
find.
And they,
Like a sea anemone? Anemone? I can never say it.
right. Yeah. Yep. Supposedly they're saying that think it's Patchface's way of saying anemone. Isn't
Okay.
it
Huh.
the anemone?
So also, he does say this before she tells us about dragons. So he could just, because it doesn't mean they're under the sea. He's just talking about his prophecy. So the birds have scales for feathers. That's a dragon. Jane, you have I don't know about control from Euron, but you're right about that. Yeah, it could be, you're right. He could be just talking about, so what would that be on?
So go back to the Nenimones one.
That's what I'm trying to find. I think I went too far.
Yeah.
Okay, here it is. It's always summer under the sea. The merwives wear nenimones in their hair. And we have, this is just what we think he's saying is
right. Reddit says, what is a anemone? Most likely it's an interesting way of saying anemone. Since Patchface always sings about the sea, we instantly think of the creatures called sea anemones.
Mm-hmm.
And then apparently they're also considered a genus of flowers that can have many different colors, including red and purple.
Okay. Well, that's a little something different.
Because some anemones are toxic. They were used in poison. Purple,
right.
Actually, purple ones are poisonous.
Right. Oh, wait a minute.
So
Doesn't isn't that what the color is of Sansa's the thing she wears?
Yeah, she wears the amethyst crystal thingies and they're purple.
Yeah, in her hair, it's like a net, right? A netting.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
because she wore
she
wore amethyst crystals in a hairnet that contained the poison supposedly that killed Joffrey.
Mhm.
So is she the merwife?
I don't know.
At this point in the story.
Oh, wait a minute! It's always summer. Her dog. Oh no, that's the other kid. I was like, hers is lady.
Not anymore.
Yeah.
So yeah, the merwives were so because at this point in time she's married to Tyrion, correct?
Not yet. No.
Not yet. Okay.
No. That happens in this book.
Then it's okay.
I believe. Yeah, I believe it happens in this book. But what color flowers are they again? Red or blue or purple?
Yeah.
It said, it said red or purple, but purple are the poisonous ones.
I'm trying to purple. So purple and silver. I wonder what
The netting could be considered silver.
Well, I'm wondering the gown she wears, what color it was.
Hmm.
I don't know. That's interesting. We could sit for hours because I'm still trying to figure if snow's up and rain is dry as bone. It will mean something, and we know it. He is of the sea.
I could see somebody considering
No,
snow a
so
dry rain.
Snow is up. He's foreshadowing the rise of Jon Snow being alive.
No, because I think we get stuff about that later on. I don't know. We'll come back to that if we get some more because that's interesting. Will it truly snow? The child asked. It will, Crescent said, but not for years yet, I pray, and then not for long. Ah, here is Pylos with the bird. Shireen gave a cry of delight. Even Crescent had to admit the bird made an impressive sight, white as snow and larger than any hawk, with the bright black eyes that meant it was no mere albino, but a true bred white raven of the citadel. Oh yeah, because they are a breed. I forgot. They're not albino.
Okay.
Yeah. Here, he called. The raven spread its wings, leapt into the air, and flapped noisily across the room to land on the table beside him. I'll see to your breakfast now, Pylos announced. Crescent nodded. This is the Lady Shireen, he told the raven. The bird bopped its pale head up and down as if it were bowing. Lady, it croaked. Lady. The child's mouth gaped open. It talks? A few words, as I said. They are clever, these birds. Clever bird, clever man, clever fool, said Patchface, jangling. Oh, clever, clever, clever fool. He began to sing. The shadows come to dance, my lord. Dance, my lord. Dance, my lord. He sang, hopping from one foot to another and back again. The shadows come to stay, my lord. Stay, my lord. Stay, my lord. He jerked his head with each word, the bells in his antlers sending up a clangor. Um, I mean, that's to me, that's Melisandre. You know, she's shadow babies. Fire creates shadows. The shadows came, and the shadows stayed. I think he could be talking about her on that one.
The shadows stab Renly.
Yeah, that's true. We'll break it down even more. We'll just read the rest of it. The white raven screamed and went flapping away to perch on the iron railing of the rookery stairs. Streams seemed to grow smaller. He sings that all the time. I told him to stop, but he won't. What's up, Mason? It makes me scared. Hello. Make him stop. And how do I do that? The old man wondered. Once I might have silenced him forever, but now. So this is one he sings over and over again, talking about shadows. So it has to do with Melisandre, most likely. I would think. What's going on, man? Mason, how are you?
Hi, I'm doing good. I'm glad I could make this.
Me
I feel
too.
bad about missing so many of them.
No, don't worry about it, man. What anything you heard or we've already talked about that you want to throw out there?
Fun fact.
Oh,
Owl,
love.
it used to be, you were talking about names of birds,
Uh-huh.
and owl used to be pronounced more like an ool, and that's because that's what they would say an owl makes. Like that was how they described the hoot of an owl.
Oh. So it was originally ool.
Yeah.
Ool. Ool.
That's
Oh,
pretty
okay.
cool.
That's an onomatomaxa. Okay. We move on. I think it's a Grateful Dead album, something like that. Okay. Patchface had come to them as a boy. Lord Stefan of cherished memory had found him in Volantis across the narrow sea. The king, the old king, Aerys the second Targaryen, who had not been quite so mad in those days, had sent his lordship to seek a bride for Prince Rhaegar, who had no sister to wed. We have found the most splendid fool, he wrote Cresson a fortnight before he was to return home from his fruitless mission. Only a boy, yet nimble as a monkey and witty as a dozen uh, courtiers.
Courtiers.
Courtiers, thank you. He juggles and riddles and does magic, and he can sing prettily in 4 tongues. We have bought his freedom and hope to bring him home with us. Robert will be delighted with him, and perhaps in time he will even teach Stannis how to laugh. It saddened Cresson to remember that letter. No one had ever taught Stannis how to laugh, least of all the boy Patchface. The storm came up suddenly, howling, and Shipbreaker Bay proved the truth of its name. The Lord's 2-mast galley, Windproud, broke up within sight of his castle. From its parapets, his 2 eldest sons had watched as their father's ship was smashed against the rocks and swallowed by the water. 100 oarsmen and sailors went down with Lord Stefan Baratheon and his lady wife. And for days thereafter, tide left a fresh crop of swollen corpses on the strand below Storm's End. I could speak, I swear. The boy washed up on the 3rd day. Maester Cresson had come down with the rest to help put names to the dead. When they found the fool, he was naked, his skin white and wrinkled and powdered with wet sand. Cresson had thought him another corpse, but when Jami grabbed his ankles to drag him off to the burial wagon, the boy coughed water and sat up. To his dying day, Jami had sworn that Patchface's flesh was clammy cold. So right there was his baptism into what's the drowned
God.
I mean, he literally coughed up the water that he took in, killing him, which it's supposed to do. You're supposed to take in the water, die, come back, cough it up, and breathe again because the drowned out God gave you breath. To think that Patchface is the only really...
I would just cheat that ceremony.
Yeah.
I would just cheat that ceremony. I would take holy water in there, go face down for a minute, roll over, and then you...
Yeah.
He spoke to me.
What they literally do is a form of the Heimlich to get the water out and get these guys breathing again, like Aaron.
Isn't it more CPR and less Heimlich?
Yeah, more. Well, it's kind of like a jolt, so it's like it kicks
okay.
the water up, and
Gotcha.
So don't ever question me. Yeah, so he literally is the prophetic voice of the drowned god. I mean, that's what I get.
Yeah, he seems nice. I hope nothing bad happens to him.
Yeah, he's a good guy. Greetings and salutations, my friend. Thank you, One Man Show. No one ever explained those 2 days and he was naked too. Like, it's almost like
he was a boy on a ship filled with
people. Jesus, that's terrible. No one ever explained those 2 days the fool had been lost in the sea. The fisher folk liked to say a mermaid had taught him to breathe water in return for his seed. Patchface himself had said nothing. The witty, clever lad that Lord Stefan had written of never reached Storm's End. The boy they found was someone else, truthfully. Broken in body and mind, hardly capable of speech, much less of wit. Yet his fool's face left no doubt of who he was. It was the fashion in the free city of Atlantis to tattoo the face of slaves and servants. From the neck to scalp, the boy's skin had been patterned in squares of red and green motley. So, I mean, it kind of does, if we have fire whites and, the other whites, the white whites, do we have drowned whites? Like, did the boy Patchface actually die and this is some other being that was returned?
What do you get when you have fire and ice? Water.
Oh.
Water whites.
Yeah, he's a water white. I like that. That makes sense. He is in the middle. So he's not the one extreme or the other. He's just in the middle giving us the knowledge.
Yeah, that's I think that's how the world forms in Norse mythology. Is you have these like fire realms and these ice realms, and then in the middle, the water starts dripping, and then that's where life starts. Unless I'm mistaken.
No, that's cool. We'll take that, and if Stig tells us different, I know he'll yell at you.
Oh,
The
yeah.
deeper,
So this Mason, he fed me, fake news about how the world was created.
yeah, yeah. The wretch is mad and in pain, and no use to anyone, least of all himself, declared old Sir Harbert, the castellan of Storm's End in those years. The kindest thing you could do for that one is fill his cup with the milk of the poppy, a painless sleep, and there's an end to it. He'd bless you if he had the wit for it. But Crescent had refused, and in the end, he had won. Whether Patchface had gotten any joy of that victory, he could not say, not even today, so many years later. Here we go. The shadow comes to dance, my lord, dance, my lord, dance, my lord. The fool sang on, swinging his head and making his bells clang and clatter. Bong dong, ring a ling, bong dong. Lord, the white raven shrieked. Lord, Lord, Lord. Ooh, I love when the ravens say stuff too. A fool sings what he will, the maester told his anxious princess. You must not take his words to heart. On the morrow, he may remember another song, and this one will never be heard again. He can sing prettily in 4 tongues, Lord Stephen had written. Hilo strode through the door. Maester, pardons. You have forgotten the porridge, Crescent said, amused. That was most unlike Pylos. Maester, Sir Davos returned last night. They were talking of it in the kitchen. I thought you would want to know at once. Davos? Last night, you say? Where is he? With the king. They have been together most of the night. There was a time when Lord Stannis would have...
Ooh.
Yeah. Yeah, out to sea, there was a time when Lord Stannis would have woken him, no matter the hour, to have him there to give his counsel. I should have been told, Crescent complained. I should have been woken. His distangled, yeah, distangled, jeez, priest, his fingers from Shireen's. Pardons, my lady, but I must speak with your lord father. Pylos, give me your arm. There are too many steps in this castle, and it seems to me they added a few every night just to vex me. So I like how he keeps calling him Lord Father, but really he should be calling him His Grace. I'd never noticed that before. Shireen and Patchface followed them out, but the child soon grew restless with the old man's creeping pace and dashed ahead, the fool lurching after her with his cowbells clanging madly. Castles are not friendly places for the frail. Crescent was reminded as he descended the turnpike stairs of Sea Dragon Tower. Lord Stannis would be found in the chamber of the painted table, atop the stone drum, Dragonstone's central keep, so named for the way its ancient walls boomed and rumbled during storms. To reach, I never remembered that. It's called the stone drum. To reach him, they must cross the gallery, pass through the middle and inner walls with their guardian gargoyles and black iron gates, and ascend more steps than Crescent cared to contemplate. Young men climb these steps 2 at a time. For an old man with bad hips, everyone was a torment. But Lord Stannis would not think to come to him. So the maester resigned himself to the ordeal. He had Pylos to help him, and at least, and for that, he was grateful. Shuffling along the gallery, they passed before a row of tall arched windows with commanding views of the outer bailey, the curtain wall, and the fishing village beyond. In the yard, archers were firing at practice butts to call of "Notch, draw, loose." Their arrows made a sound like a flock of birds taking wing. Guardsmen strode the walkways, peering between the gargoyles on the hosts camped without. The morning air was hazy with the smoke of cook fires. as 3,000 men sat down to break their fast beneath the banners of their lords. Past the sprawl of the camp, the anchorage was crowded with ships. No craft that had come within sight of Dragonstone this past half year had been allowed to leave again. Lord Stannis's Fury, a triple-decked war galleon of 300 oars, looked almost small beside some of the big-bellied carracks and cogs that surrounded her. The guardsmen outside the stone drum knew the maester by sight and passed them through. Wait here, Creston told Pylos within. It's best I see him alone. It's a long climb, maester. Creston smiled. You think I have forgotten? I've climbed these steps so often I know each one by name. Halfway up, he regretted his decision. He had stopped to catch his breath and ease the pain in his hip when he heard the scuffle of boots on stone and came face to face with Sir Davos Seaworth descending. Davos was a slight man, his low birth written plain upon a common face. A well-worn green cloak, stained by salt and spray and faded from the sun, draped his thin shoulders over brown doublet and breeches that matched brown eyes and hair. About his neck, a pouch of worn leather hung from a thong. His small beard was well peppered with gray, and he wore a leather glove on his maimed left hand. When he saw Cresson, he checked his descent. Sir Davos, the maester said, when did you return? In the black of morning, my favorite time. It was said that no one had ever handled a ship by night half so well as Davos Shorthand. Before Lord Stannis had knighted him, he had been the most notorious elusive smuggler in all the Seven Kingdoms. And the man shook his head. It is as you warned him. They will not rise, maester. Not for him. They do not love him. No, Cresson thought, nor will they ever. He is strong, able, just. Just past his point of wisdom. Yet it is not enough. It has never been enough. You spoke to them all? All. No, only those that would see me. They do not love me either, these highborns. To them, I'll always be the Onion Knight. His left hand closed, stubby fingers locking into a fist. Stannis had hacked the ends off at the last joint, all but the thumb. I broke bread with the Gullion Swan, and old Penrose, and the Tarts consented to a midnight meeting in a grove. The others, well, Beric Dondarrion is gone missing. Some say dead, and Lord Caron is with Renly. Bryce the Orange of the Rainbow Guard. The Rainbow Guard? The one-time smuggler explained, but these 7 don't wear white. Each one has his own color. Lord Tyrell's the Lord Commander. All right, take a little break. Anything?
Do you think he called it the Rainbow Guard just as kind of a nod to
Them being
Renly
gay?
being gay?
Yeah. Yeah. I would think so.
Yeah, I can agree with it. Okay, so either my memory is terrible, or I just completely am shocked. Did he cut off his own hand? His
No.
own fingers?
No. Stannis did.
Isn't that what he just said? Isn't that what he just said, that he had hacked his fingers off?
I don't think he
No,
said it
it
like
says
that,
his
though.
left hand closed, stubby fingers, blah blah blah. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead if you was
It
it
just
there?
scrolled. It was right there. Stannis had hacked the ends
Yeah,
off at the
Stannis.
last
Oh,
joint.
Stannis
off of
had.
the
Okay,
thumb.
Yeah.
that's all right. I thought Stannis did, but we were reading through because I wasn't watching the text on the screen. I thought I
Right.
heard you say he chopped them. I'm like, wait a minute, what? Okay, that's all right.
Mhm. No, it is all right. It is all right.
And it's similar in concept because I think if I remember correctly that he wanted Stannis to do it himself, similar to the concept of Ned always, swung the sword.
I didn't know one man show you were going through all that, man. I'm glad you're okay, man. Yeah. Well, let's just read on. How long is this prologue? I forget. Renly, okay. It was just the sort of notion that would appeal to Renly Baratheon, a splendid new order of knighthood with gorgeous new remnant, raiment,
Raymond.
raiment, thank you, to proclaim it. Even as a boy, Renly had loved bright colors and rich fabrics, and he had
Wait,
loved
what are
his
they trying to
games.
say about
Yeah, I
the
know,
manliest man on the planet?
right? Games as well. Look at me, he would shout as he ran, laughing through the halls of Storm's End. Look at me, I'm a dragon. Or look at me, I'm a wizard. Or look at me, I'm the rain god. The bold little boy with wild black hair and laughing eyes was a man grown now, 21, and still he played his games. Look at me, I'm a king, Crescent thought sadly. Oh, Renly, Renly, dear sweet child, do you know what you are doing? And would you care if you did? Is there anyone who cares for him but me? What reason did the lords give for their refusal? He asked Sir Davos. Well, as to that, some gave me soft words and some blunt. Some made excuses, some promises, some only lied. He shrugged. In the end, words are just wind. We hear that quite a bit in this story, that same phrase.
Words are just wind. Also,
Mhm.
there's a rain god.
Well, a storm god.
Yeah, I know there's the storm
Yeah,
god,
I've
that
never heard.
the rain god.
Yeah, well, he is. you know, I don't like storms. I like rain. I don't know.
He's raining on my face. Yay.
You could you could bring him no hope, only the false sort, and I'd not do that. Davos said. He had the truth from me. Maester Crescent remembered the day Davos had been knighted. After the siege of Storm's End, Lord Stannis and a small garrison had held the castle for close to a year against the great host of Lord Tyrell and Redwine. Even the sea was closed against them. Watched day and night by Redwine galleys flying the burgundy banner of the arbor. Within Storm's End, the horses had long since been eaten, the dogs and cats were gone, and the garrison was down to roots and rats. Then came a night when the moon was new and black clouds hid the stars. Cloaked in that darkness, Davos the smuggler had dared the Redwine cordon and the rocks of Shipbreakers Bay alike. His little ship had a black hull, black sails, black oars, and a hold crammed with onions and saltfish. Little enough, yet it had kept the garrison alive long enough for Eddard Stark to reach Storm's End and break the siege. Lord Stannis had rewarded Davos with choice lands on Cape Wrath, a small keep and a knight's honor. But he had also decreed that he lose a joint for each finger on his left hand to pay for all his years of smuggling. Davos had submitted on the condition that Lord Stannis wield the knife himself. He would accept no punishment from lesser hands. The Lord had used a butcher cleaver, the better to cut clean and true. Afterward, Davos had chosen the name Seaworth for his new made house, and he took for his banner a black ship on a pale gray field with an onion on its sails. The one-time smuggler had found fond of saying that Lord Stannis had done him a boon by giving him 4 less fingers to clean and trim. No, Crescent thought, a man like that would give no false hope, no soften a hard truth. Sir Davos, truth can be a bitter drought, even for a man like Lord Stannis. He thinks only of returning to King's Landing in the fullness of his power to tear down his enemies and claim what is rightfully his. Yet now, if he takes this meager host to King's Landing, it will be only to die. He does not have the numbers. I told him as much, but you know his pride. Davos held his gloved hand. My fingers will grow back before that man bends to sense. The old man sighed. Oh, yep.
Sorry, that's kind of funny. Like someone says that, like, yeah,
What? My
made me
fingers
laugh.
will grow back?
Yeah, before he makes sense. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I like that.
Yeah, that's true. What what do you say? The truth could be like a bitter drought, dry rain, rain as dry as bones. I don't know. Never know. The old man sighed. You have done all you could. Now I must add my voice to yours. Wearily he resumed his climb. Phew. Lord Stannis Baratheon refuge was a great round room with walls of bare black stone and 4 tall narrow windows that looked out to the 4 points of the compass. In the center of the chamber was the great table from which it took its name, a massive slab of carved wood fashioned at the command of Aegon Targaryen in the days before the conquest. The painted table was more than 50 feet long, perhaps half that wide at its widest point, but less than 4 feet across at its narrowest. Aegon's carpenters had shaped it after the land of Westeros, sawing out each bay and peninsula until the table nowhere ran straight. On its surface, darkened by near 300 years of varnish, were painted the 7 kingdoms as they had been in Aegon's day: rivers and mountains, castles and cities, lakes and forests. There was a single chair in the room, carefully positioned in the precise place that Dragonstone occupied off the coast of Westeros, and raised up to give a good view of the tabletop. Seated in the chair was a man in a tight-laced leather jerkin and breeches of rough-spun brown wool. When Maester Crescent entered, he glanced up. I knew you would come, old man, whether I summoned you or no. There was no hint of warmth in his voice. There seldom was.
That's
Stannis
kind of cool. I
Baratheon.
didn't realize that the throne seat was actually where Dragonstone would be on the map. I don't know why I don't remember that part.
Oh
Hilarious.
yeah, I don't remember reading that.
No. The seat carefully positioned in the precise place that Dragonstone occupied. Oh shit, you're right.
Yeah,
That's
Oh, I
pretty
never noticed
cool.
that. So he's sitting
he's
on his
sitting where
island.
Dragonstone would be on the map.
Yeah.
I like
Huh.
that. I don't know why I've never picked up on that.
No, I never
Because
even.
the only time we've ever seen them sitting around the table, whether it was Daenerys or in House of the Dragon, they've always been up at the end of the table where North is.
Yeah,
at the other end.
Yeah, that's
that's
interesting.
crazy. That's crazy. I never little things you pick up third, fourth time you read it. Like Stig would say, like the first time you read it, you're just enthralled, you're in it. The second time you read it, you're picking up, what you missed, but by the third and fourth time you're studying it,
Yeah,
And I love that. Oh, yo, good to see you, Kolnitsky. I'm reading. Bear with me. Stannis Baratheon, Lord of Dragonstone, and by the grace of the gods, rightful heir to the Iron Throne of the 7 kingdoms of Westeros, was broad of shoulder and what is that? Sinewy or sinewy of limb?
Sinewy.
I can't. Yeah,
Sinewy? I don't know what that means. With a tightness to his face and flesh that spoke of leather cured in the sun until it was as tough as steel. Hard was the word men used when they spoke of Stannis, and hard he was, though he was not yet 5 and 30. So 35, not even 35 yet. Only a fringe of thin black hair remained on his head.
it
So-
means lean and muscular.
Oh, okay. I never knew that. See? Circling behind his ears like the shadow of a crown. A shadow of the crown, because he'll never actually have the real crown. His brother, the late King Robert, had grown a beard in his final years. Maester Crescent had never seen it, but they said it was a wild thing, thick and fierce. As if in answer, Stannis kept his own whiskers cropped tight and short. They lay like a blue-black shadow across his square jaw in the bony hollows of his cheek. His eyes were open wounds beneath his heavy brows, a blue as dark as the sea by night. His mouth would have given despair to even the drollest of fools. It was a mouth made for frowns and scowls and sharply worded commands, all thin, pale lips and clenched muscles, a mouth that had forgotten how to smile and had never known how to laugh. Sometimes, when the world grew very still and silent of the night, Maester Crescent fancied he could hear Lord Stannis grinding his teeth half a castle away. So, yeah, we just get Stannis is a hard man in every way.
It's a very interesting way of saying, yeah, he's one not to be trifled with.
Yeah,
He's the complete opposite of Patchface. He's definitely not the fool.
yeah, yeah. Um, let's see. Once you would have woken me, the old man said. Once you were young. Now you are old and sick and need your sleep. Stannis had never learned to soften his speech, to dissemble or flatter. He said what he thought, and those that did not like it could be damned. I knew you'd learn what Davos had to say soon enough. You always do, don't you? I would be of no help to you if I did not, Crescent said. I met Davos on the stair, and he told all, I suppose. I should have had that man's tongue shortened along with his fingers. He would have made you a poor envoy then. He made me a poor envoy in any case. The Stormlords will not rise for me. It seems they do not like me, and the justice of my cause means nothing to them. The cravenly ones will sit behind their walls, waiting to see how the wind rises, and who is likely to triumph. The bold ones have already declared for Renly. For Renly! He spat out the name like poison on his tongue. Your brother has been the Lord of Storm's End these past 13 years. These lords are his sworn bannermen. His? Stannis broke in. When by right they should be mine. I never asked for Dragonstone. I never wanted it. I took it because Robert's enemies were here, and he commanded me to root them out. I built his fleet, and I did his work dutifully, as a younger brother should be to an elder, as Renly should be to me. And what was Robert's thanks? He named me Lord of Dragonstone and gives Storm's End and its income to Renly. Storm's End belongs to House Baratheon for 300 years. By rights, it should have passed to me when Robert took the Iron Throne. I mean, by giving him Dragonstone, he's saying he's the heir.
Exactly.
Well, that's the thing. Like, but we've also got to understand that a lot of that stuff doesn't mean anything anymore. That's
Right,
old tradition.
since the Targaryens are gone.
Yeah.
But it's not that old. It's only, like a generation. Robert's rebellion was 20 years ago. So in Stannis's eyes, like, I am neither the heir nor, well, he is, but in Robert's view, I was neither the heir or the Lord of Storm's End. To him, he thought it was a punishment.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it is.
And I don't know why, though. He makes
he could have
seem...
still named him Lord of Dragonstone, but had him stay at King's Landing.
Right. I mean, he does say Robert's enemies were here and he commanded me to root them out. So he trusted his...
Once he did that.
Yeah, he should have. Yeah, exactly. But in my mind, Robert probably thought it was something special. Like, this is Dragonstone. Princes. Only princes have lived here.
I don't think he would have, because he hated the Targaryens and their traditions, even though he was one.
That's true. And all his brother ever did was do exactly what his brother asked of him.
Yeah, but the thing of it is, he's the spare, so it doesn't really matter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess. And then Robert has been the Lord for so long because they were young boys when their father died. So to him, like, does he even consider him a brother? Oh, I hit my foot on my chair so hard. Give me a second.
Oh, I wish I could full screen you right now. Well, no, because we know we know he doesn't because he considers Ned his brother because they were raised by
Right.
John Aaron.
Yep.
So
Right.
It's crazy. All right,
that
let's
was the
move.
reason that he asked him to be the hand. That was the reason that he didn't ask Stannis
Yep.
Yeah.
because he
I,
needed someone,
Oh,
as he said,
Mason
that
is
he could
here.
trust.
Yeah, Mason.
Yeah, this kind of shows how like screwed over Stannis feels and kind of is.
Mm-hmm.
Like at the start of the War of the Five Kings, he's like sitting back trying to make a case, gathering evidence
Mm-hmm.
on like Cersei's children are illegitimate, and then Renly's like, "Oh, I'll just go raise all the bannermen that
Right.
rightfully belong to my brother."
Right.
And then you have 4 other people vying for the Iron Throne.
Yeah. And it's
And
almost like Renly's like, my brother's not cool enough to be king. Like, people won't like him, so I should just be the king.
Yeah, he forgets
Yeah.
about the one part of being a king is that you've actually also pretty much got to be willing to appease to the people, and with the help of the Tyrells, because they are loved and they have a lot of sway amongst like common people, lords, and
mean,
everything
yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
They
I mean, they run the Reach. The Reach is
yeah.
there.
So like, but Stannis thinks just because it's he's right that other people are willing to die, because he did his duty. He thinks everyone else is like that, and that's where his biggest downfall is his own sense of duty and morality.
Yep.
Has always been his Achilles heel.
Yes. You're right.
Renly's more of a man of the people. He's also courtly.
Mm-hmm.
Great with the men of the barracks.
Oh, huge, big fan of the men of the barracks. Shit, I am so far from where we were supposed to be. I don't know. Did I completely miss all that? Holy crap, there's a lot of this. Da 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 da.
Green boys. Nope, not there. No.
Aha! Here we are. It was an old grievance, deeply felt and never more so than now. Here was the heart of his lord's weakness for Dragonstone. Old and strong though it was, commanded the allegiance of only a handful of lesser lords, whose Stony Island holdings were too thinly peopled to yield up the men that Stannis needed. Even with the sellsword he had brought across the narrow sea from the free cities of Myr and Lys, the host camped outside his walls was far too small to bring down the power of House Lannister. Robert did you an injustice, Maester Crescent replied carefully, yet he had sound reasons. Dragonstone had long been the seat of House Targaryen. He needed a man's strength to rule here, and Renly was but a child. He is a child still, Stannis declared, his anger ringing loudly in the empty hall. A thieving child who thinks to snatch the crown off my brow. What has Renly ever done to earn a throne? He sits in council and jests with Littlefinger, and at tourneys he dons his splendid suit of armor and allows himself to be knocked off his horse by a better man. That is the sum of my brother Renly. Who thinks he ought to be king? I ask you, why did the gods inflict me with brothers? I cannot answer for the gods. You seldom answer at all these days, it seems to me. Whose maesters for Renly? Perchance I should send for him. I might like his counsel better. What do you think this maester said when my brother decided to steal my crown? What counsel did your colleague offer to this traitor blood of mine? It would surprise me if Lord Renly sought counsel, your grace. The youngest of Lord Stefan's 3 sons had grown into a man bold but headless, who acted from impulse rather than calculation. And that, as in so much else, Renly was like his brother Robert and utterly unlike Stannis. So the thing I'll disagree on that is he had a sound idea for Ned. Take the kids into your custody now. And you will be able to control what happens going on. So,
No, they'll be right.
you know,
It'll be fine.
it'll be fine. I'll just go tell their mother that I'm about to, have her killed, her brother killed, maybe the kids killed, because they're all bastards. Whatever. Yeah. That was the one time where I could say Renly had a head on his shoulders.
He's got some good men behind him, that guy.
Yeah. Your grace, Stannis repeated bitterly. You mock me with a king's style, yet what am I king of? Dragonstone and a few rocks in the narrow sea? There is my kingdom. He had descended the steps of his chair to stand before the table, his shadow falling across the mouth of the Blackwater Rush and the painted forest where King's Landing now stood. There he stood, brooding over the realm he sought to claim, so near at hand, yet so far away. Tonight I am to sup with my lords bannermen, such as they are. Celtigard, Valarion, Bar Emmon, the whole paltry lot of them. A poor crop, if truth be told, but they are what my brother has left me. That least pirate Salador San will be there with the latest tally of what I owe him. And Moorish the merman will caution me with talks of tides and autumn gales, while Lord Sunglasses mutters piously of the will of the seven. Celtigard will want to know which storm lords are joining us. Valerian will threaten to take his leaves home or levies home unless we strike at once. What am I to tell them? What must I do? Your true enemies are the Lannister, my lord, Maester Crescent answered. If you and your brother were to make common cause against them, I will not treat with Renly. Stannis answered in a tone that brooked no argument. I will, he calls him, not while he calls himself a king. Not Renly, then, the maester yielded. His lord was stubborn and proud. When he had set his mind, there was no changing it. Others might serve your needs as well. Eddard Stark's son has been proclaimed king in the north, with all the power of Winterfell and Riverrun behind him. A green boy, said Stannis, and another false king. Am I to accept a broken realm? Surely half a kingdom is better than none, Crescent said. And if you help the boy avenge his father's murderer, why should I avenge Eddard Stark? The man was nothing to me. Oh, Robert loved him. To be sure. Robert loved him. To be sure. Loved him as a brother. How often did I hear that? I was his brother, not Ned Stark. But you would never have known it by the way he treated me. I held Storm's End for him, watching good men starve while Mace Tyrell and Paxter Redwine feasted within sight of my walls. Did Robert thank me? No, he thanked Stark for lifting the siege when we were done to rats and radishes. I built a fleet at Robert's command, took Dragonstone in his name. Did he take my hand and say, well done, brother? Whatever should I do without you? No. He blamed me for letting Willem Derry steal away the series and the babe, as if I could have stopped it. I sat on his council for 15 years, helping Jon Arryn rule his kingdom while Robert drank and whored. But when Jon died, did my brother name me his hand? No. He went galloping off to his dear friend Ned Stark and offered him the honor. And small good it did either of them. Be that as it may, my lord, Maester Crescent said gently, great wrongs have been done you, but the past is dust. The future may yet be won if you join with the Starks. There are others you might sound out as well. What of Lady Arryn? If the queen murdered her husband, surely she will want justice for him. She had a young son, Jon Arryn's heir. If you were to betroth Shireen to him, the boy is weak and sickly, Lord Stannis objected. Even his father saw how it was when he asked me to foster him on Dragonstone. Service as a page might have done him good, but that damnable Lannister woman had Lord Arryn poisoned before it could be done. And now Lysa hides him in the Eyrie. She'll never part with the boy. I promise you that. Then you must send Shireen to the Eyrie, the maester urged. Dragonstone is a grim home for a child. Let her fool go with her, so she will have familiar face about her. Familiar and hideous. Stannis furrowed his brow in thought. Still, perhaps it is worth the try. Must the rightful lord of the seven kingdoms beg for help from a widow woman and usurpers? A woman's voice asked sharply. It's like she knew the moment to enter. Like Stannis
Yeah.
was
Bitch.
just starting to listen to Crescent.
Do
I
you
bet
reckon
you
that
that's
she
how
was
it's
just
been.
hiding behind there and she's just like,
Mhm.
all right. He's like, no, he's good with this, he's good with that. And she was just waiting for him just to go, huh, that's not
Yep.
a terrible idea.
Yep. Yeah. I'm telling you, it's evil, evil, evil woman. Maester Crescent turned and bowed his head. My lady, he said, I can never say this word. Kagrin, right?
Keep trying.
Kagrin? Yeah, sure. That he had not heard her enter. Lord Stannis scowled. I do not beg of anyone. Mind you remember that, woman. Yeah, you tell her. I am pleased to hear it, my lord. Lady Sleece was as tall as her husband, thin of body and thin of face, with prominent ears, a sharp nose, and the faintest hint of a mustache on her upper lip. Oh, so hot. She
She's a
plucked
real woman.
she is she plucked it daily and cursed it regularly, yet it never failed to return. Her eyes were pale, her mouth stern, her voice a whip. She cracked it now. Lady Aaron owes you her allegiance, as do the Starks, your brother Renly, and all the rest. You are their one true king. It would not be fitting to plead and bargain with them for what is rightfully yours by the grace of God. God, she said, not gods. The red woman had won her, heart and soul, turned her from the gods of the seven kingdoms, both old and new, to worship the one they called the Lord of Light. Your God can keep his grace, said Lord Stannis, who did not share his wife's fervent new faith. It's swords I need, not blessings. Do you have any army hidden somewhere that you've not told me of? There was no affection in his tone. Stannis had always been uncomfortable around women, even his own wife. When he had gone to King's Landing to sit on
Renly.
to sit on Robert's council, he had left Selyse on Dragonstone with their daughter. His letters had been few, his visits fewer. He did his duty in the marriage bed once or twice a year, but took no joy in it. And the sons he had once hoped for had never come. My brothers,
Maybe if you did it more than once or twice a year, you'd have better
Yeah.
success rates.
give her a little oomph. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
My brothers and uncles and cousins have armies, she told him. House Florent will rally to your banner. House Florent can field 2,000 swords at best. It was said that Stannis knew the strength of every house in the seven kingdoms. And you have a deal more faith in your brothers and uncles than I do, my lady. The Florent lands lie too close to Highgarden for your lord uncle to risk Mace Tyrell's wrath. There is another way, Lady Selyse moved closer. Look out your windows, my lord. There is the sign you have waited for, blazoned on the sky. Red it is, the red flame, red for the fierce, fiery heart of the true God. It is his banner and yours. See how it unfurls across the heavens like a dragon's hot breath. And you, the Lord of Dragonstone. It means your time has come, your grace. Nothing is more certain. You are meant to sail from this desolate rock as Aegon the Conqueror once sailed, to sweep all before you as he did. Only say the word and the embrace of the power of the Lord of and embrace the power of the Lord of Light. How many swords will the Lord of Light put in my hand? Stannis demanded again. All you need, his wife promised. The swords of Storm's End and Highgarden for starts, and all their lords bannermen. Davos would tell you different, Stannis said. Those swords are sworn to Renly. They love my charming younger brother as they once loved Robert, and they have never loved me, and they have never loved me. Someone else mind reading for a little bit? My throat is killing me.
Sure. Yes, she answered, but if Renly should die. ... Stannis looked at his lady with narrowed eyes until Cresson could not hold his tongue. It's not to be thought, your grace, whatever follies Renly has committed. Follies? I call them treasons. Stannis turned back to his wife. My brother is young and strong, and he has a vast host around him, and these rainbow knights of his. Melisandre has gazed into the flames and seen him dead. Cresson was horror-struck. Fratricide, my lord, this is evil, unthinkable. Please listen to me. Lady Selyse gave him a measured look. And what will you tell him, Maester? How he might win half a kingdom if he goes to the Starks on his knees and sells our daughter to Lysa Arryn? I have heard your counsel, Cresson, Lord Stannis says. Now I will hear hers. You are dismissed. Maester Cresson bent a stiff knee. He could feel Lady Selyse's eyes on his back as he shuffled slowly across the room. By the time he reached the bottom of the steps, it was all he could do to stand erect. Help me, he said to Pylos. When he was safe back in his own rooms, Cresson sent the younger man away and limped to his balcony once more, to stand between his gargoyles and stare out at the sea. One of Salador San's warships was sweeping past the castle, her gaily striped hull slicing through the gray-green waters as her oars rose and fell. He watched until she vanished behind a headland. Would that my fears could vanish so easily. Had he lived so long for this? When Maester donned his collar, When a maester donned his collar, he put aside the hope of children. Yet Cresson had oft felt a father nonetheless. Robert Stannis Renly, 3 sons he had raised after the angry sea claimed Lord Steffon. Had he done so ill now that he must watch one kill the other? He could not allow it, would not allow it. The woman was the heart of it, not the Lady Selyse, the other one. The Red Woman, the servants had named her, afraid to speak her name. I will speak her name, Cresson told his stone hellhound. Melisandre, her. Melisandre of Ashai, sorceress, shadowbinder, and priestess to R'hllor, the Lord of Light, the Heart of Fire, the God of Flame and Shadow. Melisandre, whose madness must not be allowed to spread beyond Dragonstone. His chamber seemed dim and gloomy after the brightness of the morning. With fumbling hands, the old man lit a candle and carried it into the workroom behind the rookery stair, where his ointments, potions, and medicines stood neatly on their shelves. On the bottom shelf, behind a row of salves in squat clay jars, he found a vial of indigo glass, no larger than his little finger. It rattled when he shook it. Cresson blew away a layer of dust and carried it back to his table. Collapsing into his chair, he pulled the stopper and spilled out the vial's contents. A dozen crystals, though larger than seeds, rattled across the parchment he'd been reading. They shone like jewels in the candlelight, so purple that the maester found himself thinking that he had never truly seen the color before.
All right, so there's our purple.
Yep. The chain around his throat felt very heavy. He touched one of the crystals lightly with the tip of his finger, such a small thing to hold power of life and death. It was made from a certain plant that grew only on the islands of the Jade Sea, half a world away. The leaves had to be aged and soaked in a wash of limes and sugar water and certain rare spices from the Summer Isles. Afterward, they could be discarded, but the potion must be thickened with ash and allowed to crystallize. The process was slow and difficult, the necessaries costly and hard to acquire. The alchemists of Lys knew the way of it, though, and the faceless men of Bravos, and the maesters of his order as well, though it was not something talked about beyond the walls of the citadel. All the world knew that a maester forged his silver link when he learned the art of healing. but he
So
would
we,
have preferred to forget that. Okay.
yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You know that we got the silver of healing and the purple of death. So like, there's your
Mm.
silver seaweed, and there's your maybe. Okay, sorry.
Oh, no problem. The world preferred to forget that men who knew how to heal also knew how to kill. Cresson no longer recalled the name of the Ashai gave the leaf, or the Lysine
I
poisoners
think it
called.
is. So I'll help you this time. I believe it's a shy E, the people of a shy. Yeah, thank you.
Oh, gotcha. Thank
Yep.
you. Cresson no longer recalled the name of the Shai gave the leaf, or the Lysine poisoners the crystal. In the Citadel, it was simply called the Strangler. Dissolved in wine, it would make the muscles of a man's throat clench tighter than any fist, shutting off his windpipe. They said a victim's face turned purple, there's purple again, as
Yep.
the little crystal seed from which his death was grown, but so did a man choking on a morsel of food. At this very night, Lord Stannis would feast his bannermen, his lady wife, and the Red Woman, Melisandre of Ashai. I must rest, Maester Cresson told himself. I must have all my strength come dark. My hands must not shake, nor my courage flag. It is a dreadful thing I do, yet it must be done. If there are gods, surely they will forgive me. He had slept so poorly of late. A nap would refresh him for the ordeal ahead. Wearily, he toddled off to bed. Yet when he closed his eyes, he could still see the light of the comet, red and fiery and vividly alive amidst the darkness of his dream. Perhaps it is my comet, he thought drowsily at the last, just before sleep took him, an omen of blood foretelling murder. Yes.
Oof.
When he woke, it was full dark and his bedchamber was black, and every joint in his body ached. Cresson pushed himself up, his head throbbing. Clutching for his cane, he rose unsteadily to his feet. So late, he thought. They did not summon me. He was always summoned for feasts, seated near the salt, close to Lord Stannis. His lord's face swam up before him, not the man he was, but the boy he had been, standing cold in the shadows while the sun shone on his older brother. Whatever he did, Robert had done first, and better. Poor boy, he must hurry for his sake. The maester found the crystals where he had left them and scooped them off the parchment. Cresson owned no hollow rings such as the poisoners of Lys were said to favor, but a myriad of pockets, great and small, were all sewn inside the loose sleeves of his robe. He secreted the strangler seeds in one of them, threw open his door, and called, Pylos, where are you? When he heard no reply, he called again, louder, Pylos, I need help. Still there came no answer. That was queer. The young maester had his cell only a half turn down the stair within easy earshot.
You know, what I find interesting is that he talks about the pockets in his sleeves, all these small and large. And later, in whatever book she has her one POV, Melisandre talks about pockets where she hid things to make, like, you know, the fire turn purple, or, you know,
Mhm.
when she didn't have the magic she has now. So I find it interesting they both kind of wear these garments that represent their discipline or religion, and they're almost the same.
That is cool.
Yeah.
In the end, Cresson had to shout for the servants. Make haste, he told them. I have slept too long. They will be feasting by now. Drinking. I should have been woken. What had happened to Maester Pylos? Truly, he did not understand. Again, he had to cross the long gallery. A night wind whispered through the great windows, sharp with the smell of the sea. Torches flickered across the walls of Dragonstone and the camp beyond. He could see hundreds of cook fires burning, as if a field of stars had fallen to the earth. Above, the comet blazed red and malevolent. I am too old and wise to fear such things, the maester told himself. The doors to the great hall were set in the mouth of a stone dragon. He told the servants to leave him outside. It would be better to enter alone. He must not appear feeble. Leaning heavily on his cane, Cresson climbed the last few steps and hobbled beneath the gateway teeth. A pair of guardsmen opened up the heavy red doors before him, unleashing a sudden blast of noise and light. Crescent stepped down into the dragon's maw. Over the clatter of knife and plate and the low mutter of table talk, he heard Patchface singing, dance, my lord, to the accompaniment of jangling cowbells. The same dreadful song he'd sung this morning. The shadows come to stay, my lord, stay, my lord, stay, my lord. The lower tables were crowded with knights, archers, and sellsword captains, tearing apart loaves of black bread to soak in their fish stew. Here there was no loud laughter, no raucous shouting, such as marred the dignity of other men's feasts. Lord Stannis did not permit such. Cresson made his way toward the raised platform where the lords sat with the king. He had to step wide around Patchface. Dancing, his bells ringing, the fool neither saw nor heard his approach. As he hopped from one leg to the other, Patchface lurched into Cresson, knocking his cane out from under him. They went crashing down together amidst the rushes and a tangle of arms and legs, while a sudden gale of laughter went up around them. No doubt it was a comical sight.
I wonder if Patchface, the singing, the shadow comes to stay, my lord, stay, my lord, stay, my lord. Is he trying to warn Crescent, like, no matter what you do, she is not going anywhere? And even banging into him and trying to knock him over, like, stop, you're going to your death.
Oh, that's interesting. I never thought of that.
Yeah, me either, until just this moment. I'm pretty awesome like that. Okay.
Patchface sprawled half on top of him, Motley Fool's face pressed close to his own. He had lost his tin helm with his antlers and bells. Under the sea, you fall up, he declared. I know, oh. Giggling, the fool rolled off, bounded to his feet, and did a little dance. Trying to make the best of it, the maester smiled feebly and struggled to rise, but his hip was in such pain that for a moment he was half afraid he had broken it all over again. He felt strong hands grasp him under his arms and lift him back to his feet. Thank you, sir, he murmured, turning to see which knight had come to his aid. Maester, said Lady Melisandre, her deep voice flavored with the music of the Jade Sea, you ought to take more care. As ever, she wore red head to heel, a long loose gown of flowing silk as bright as fire, with jagged sleeves and deep slashes in the bodice that showed glimpses of a dark blood red fabric beneath. Around her throat was a red gold choker, tighter than any maester's chain, ornamented with a single great ruby. Her hair was not orange or strawberry color of common red-headed men, but a deep burnished copper that shone in the light of the torches. Even her eyes were red, but her skin was smooth and white, unblemished, pale as cream. Slender she was, graceful, taller than most knights, with full breasts and narrow waist and a heart-shaped face. Men's eyes that once found her did not quickly look away, not even a maester's eyes. Many called her beautiful. She was not beautiful. She was red and terrible and red. I thank you, my lady.
All right. I'll read the rest of this part.
Okay.
Give you a break. Thank you very much for doing that. A man your age must look to where he steps, Melisandre said courteously. Courteously? Yeah, sure. I'm great at reading, guys. The night is dark and full of terrors. He knew that the phrase, some prayer of her faith. It makes no matter. I have a faith of my own. Only children fear the dark, he told her. Yet, even as he said the words, he heard Patchface take up his song again. The shadow come to dance, my lord. Dance, my lord. Dance, my lord. Now, here is a riddle, Melisandre said. A clever fool and a foolish wise man. Bending, she picked up Patchface's helm from where it had fallen and set it on Cresson's head. The cowbells rang softly as the tin bucket slid down over his ears. A crown to match your chain, Lord Maester, she announced. All around them, men were laughing. Cresson pressed his lips together and fought to still his rage. She thought he was feeble and helpless, but she would learn otherwise before the night was done. Old he might be, yet he was still a maester of the citadel. I need no crown but truth, he told her, removing the fool's helm from his head. There are truths in the world that are not taught at Old Town. Melisandre turned from him in a swirl of red silk and made her way back to the high table where King Stannis and his queen were seated. Cresson handed the antler tin bucket back to Patchface and made to follow. Maester Pylos sat in his place. The old man could only stop and stare. Maester Pylos, he said at last, you did not wake me. His grace commanded me to let you rest. Pylos had at least the grace to blush. He told me you were not needed here. Damn, man. It's so like, and I wonder too, like we're reading this from Cresson's point of view. Like, is Stannis just like, look, like you raised me, you're a good man, you're old, you're broken. Like, I just want you to like enjoy the last years and not feel like you have to keep up with everybody. Like, I wonder if Stannis actually in his own way was trying to help him. I don't know.
Of course,
Maybe.
I'm talking on mute. I could absolutely see that because I mean he's not known for being nice or speaking,
Right.
treating someone with respect that isn't him. So
Right.
I can
Like
see
he
him
speaks
trying
very
to do
blunt.
that, but not doing it well. Exactly.
Right. That's it. I think you put it perfectly. He's trying to do it in his own way, just not doing it well for anyone else to realize. Yeah, I think that's what it would be. But reading this from the point of view of Cresson, he just sees, like I took care of this boy, I raised this boy, and now he doesn't want me around. He put this kid Pylos in my spot, and he really was just like, let him sleep. All right. So Cresson looked over the knights and captains and lords sitting silent. Lord Celtigard, aged and sour, wore a mantle patterned with red crabs picked out in garnets. Handsome Lord Valerian chose sea green silk, the white gold seahorse at his throat matching his long fair hair. I can't think of Valerians any other way now. Lord Bar Emin, the plump boy of 14, was swathed in purple velvet trimmed with white seal. Sir Axel Florent remained homely even in russet and fox fur. Pious Lord Sunglass wore moonstones at throat and wrist and finger. And the lice Captain Salador San was a sunburst of scarlet, satin, gold, and jewels. Only Sir Davos dressed simply in a brown doublet and green wool mantle, and only Sir Davos met his gaze with pity in his eyes. You are too ill and too confused to be of use to me, old man, he said. So it sounded so like Lord Stannis's voice, but it could not be. It could not. Pylos will counsel me henceforth. Already he works with the ravens, since you can no longer climb to the rookery. I will not have you kill yourself in my service. So that's like his way of saying it,
Yeah.
The Maester's faith is the faith of the seven. They believe in science and reason and learning, but they follow the faith of the seven. And I think they do that because they have some type of weird setup with the faith. Maester Cresson blinked. Stannis, my lord, my sad, sullen boy, son I never had, you must not do this. Don't you know how I have cared for you, lived for you, loved you despite all? Yes, loved you better than Robert, even or Renly, for you were the one unloved, the one who needed me most. Yet all he said was, as you command, my lord, but I am hungry. Might not I have a place at your table? At your side. I belong at your side. Sir Davos rose from the bench. I should be honored if the maester would sit here beside me, your grace. As you will. Lord Stannis turned away to say something to Melisandre, who had seated herself at his right hand in the place of high honor. Lady Selyse was on his left, flashing a smile as bright and brittle as her jewels. Too far, Crescent thought dully. Looking at where Sir Davos was seated, half of the Lord's bannermen were between the smuggler and the high table. I must be closer to her if I am to get the strangler into her cup, yet how? Patchface was capering about as the maester made his slow way around the table to Davos Seaworth. Here we eat fish, the fool declared happily, waving a cod about like a scepter. Under the sea, the fish eat us. I know, oh. Sir Davos moved aside to make room on the bench. We all should be in motley. We should all be in motley tonight, he said gloomily as Crescent seated himself. For this is fool's business we're about. The Red Woman has seen victory in her flames, so Stannis means to press his claim, no matter what the numbers. Before she's done, we're all like to see what Patchface saw. I fear the bottom of the sea. Crescent slid his hands up into his sleeves as if for warmth. His fingers found the hard lumps the crystals made in the wool. Lord Stannis. Stannis turned from the Red Woman, but it was Lady Selyse who replied, King Stannis, you forget yourself, Maester. He is old. His mind wanders, the king told her gruffly. What is it, Crescent? Speak your mind. As you intend to sail, it is vital that you make common cause with Lord Stark and Lady Arryn. I make common cause with no one, Stannis Baratheon said. No more than light makes common cause with darkness. Lady Selyse took his hand. Stannis nodded. The Starks seek to steal half my kingdom, even as the Lannisters have stolen my throne, and my own sweet brother, the swords and service in strongholds that are mine by right. They are all usurpers. They are all my enemies. I have lost him, Crescent thought, despairing. If only he could somehow approach Melisandre unseen. He needed but an instant's access to her cup. You are the rightful heir to your brother Robert, the true lord of the Seven Kingdoms, and king of the Andals, the Ronar, and the First Men, he said desperately. But even so, you cannot hope to triumph without allies. He has an ally, Lady Selyse said. R'hllor, the Lord of Light, the Heart of Fire, the God of Flames and Shadow. Gods make uncertain allies at best, the old man insisted, and that one has no power here. You think not? The ruby at Melisandre's throat caught the light as she turned her head, and for an instant it seemed to glow bright as the comet. If you will speak such folly, Maester, you ought to wear your crown again. Yes, Lady Selyse agreed. Patchface's helm. It suits you well, old man. Put it on again. I command you. Under the sea, no one wears hats, Patchface says. I know, oh. Lord Stannis's eyes were shadowed beneath his heavy brow, his mouth tight as his jaw worked silently. He always ground his teeth when he was angry. Fool, he growled at once. My lady wife commands. Give Crescent your helm. No, the old maester thought. This is not you, not your way. You were always just, always hard, yet never cruel, never. You did not understand mockery, no more than you understood laughter. So,
women, am I right?
I know he has to get that one shot in this year. I wonder if he's doing this to Crescent to just because he knows Crescent will not stop trying to help. I don't know, because it's pretty cruel thing to. But again, his wife is a queen. You know, does he shut her up in front of everyone? I mean, this is just a maester to everybody else. So I don't know. Patchface danced closer, his cowbells ringing. Clang a cling-a-lang, ding-ding, cling-clang, cling-clang. The maester sat silent while the fool set the antler bucket on his brow. Crescent bowed his head beneath the weight. His bells clanged. Perhaps it ought sing his counsel henceforth, Lady Selyse said. You go too far, woman, Lord Stannis said. He's an old man, and he's served me well. and I will serve you to the last, my sweet lord, my poor lonely son, Crescent thought, for suddenly he saw the way. Sir Davos's cup was before him, still half full of sour red. He found a hard flake of crystal in his sleeve, held it tight between the thumb and forefinger as he reached for the cup. Smooth motion, deft. I must not fumble now. He prayed, and the gods were kind. In the blink of an eye, his fingers were empty. His hands had not been so steady for years, nor half so fluid. Davos saw, but no one else. He was certain. Cup in hand, he rose to his feet. Mayhaps I have been a fool, Lady Melisandre. Will you share a cup of wine with me? A cup in honor of your God, your Lord of Light. A cup to toast his power. The red woman studied him. If you wish. He could feel them all watching him. Davos clutched at him as he left the bench, catching his sleeve with the fingers that Lord Stannis had shortened. What are you doing? He whispered. A thing that must be done, Maester Crescent answered, for the sake of the realm and the soul of my lord. He shook off Davos's hand, spilling a drop of wine on the rushes. She met him beneath the high table with every man's eyes upon them. But Crescent saw only her, red silk, red eyes, the ruby red at her throat, red lips curled in a faint smile as she put her hands atop his own, around the cup. Her skin felt hot, feverish. It is not too late to spill the wine, Maester. No, he whispered hoarsely, no, as you will. Melisandre of Ashai took the cup from his hands and drank long and deep. There was only half a swallow of wine remaining when she offered it back to him. And now you. His hands were shaking, but he made himself be strong. Maester of the Citadel must not be afraid. The wine was sour on his tongue. He let the empty cup drop from his fingers to shatter on the floor. He does have power here, my lord, the woman said, and fire cleanses. At her throat, the ruby shimmered readily. Crescent tried to reply, but his words caught in his throat. He coughed. His cough became a terrible thin whistle as he strained to suck in air. Iron fingers tightened around his neck as he sank to his knees. Still, he shook his head, denying her power, denying her magic, denying her God. And the cowbells pealed in his antlers, singing "Fool, fool, fool," while the red woman looked down on him in pity, the candle flames dancing in her red eyes. Holy crap, that took forever. That
Sorry,
one
could you
was
start
always
again? I missed most of that.
Yeah, let me start from the beginning. That is one of the
So,
ones that just
what
gets bland.
happened there?
She drank it.
She drank it, and then
He drank, and he didn't die, and he did. Now, that could be either the gods. She knew it was coming. I mean, she literally tells him, where is it? It is not too late to spill the wine, Maester. That's her saying that, knowing it's poison. So, like, she was either she's built up a tolerance because it is from a shy. You know what I mean? Or she took some type of antidote, knowing. I mean, I don't know. That this is one that's
pretty
always
big
got me.
gamble on which poison he was going to use.
Well, and that's the thing,
Well,
man.
I keep thinking that every time her jewel shines, that's a little bit of magic,
Magic, yeah.
Yeah,
or
that's
some
what.
type of Lord of Light.
Johnny. Yeah. All right, go ahead, Mason.
Yeah, her thing shines. Her necklace shines.
A thing of hers.
When they're burning the Lord of Bones, and they're making everybody think it's
Right.
the King Beyond the Wall. whatever
Yeah,
his name.
because you couldn't remember his name because
Oh,
I couldn't.
Yeah.
Mance Rider.
Mance
Yeah,
Raider,
Mance
of course.
Raider. There we go.
God, Mason, you're so
Oh,
stupid.
no.
Totally blanked on that one too. Yeah, it definitely has power. So we know that when she takes that off, and wait a minute, do we see her old? Right? No, we never do see her old, but she does take it off, and in her POV, and when Celise comes in,
Isn't it when she's bathing?
yes, but we're not told she looks old. But when Celise comes in, you have
Well,
to imagine.
she wouldn't know that she looked old from her point of view.
No, but if she took it off, she would.
Yeah, but I mean, here's the thing: was she looking in the mirror?
Yeah. Wait a minute. What?
So from her point of view, she doesn't look. You don't see how you look, and
No,
he
I
didn't
know
describe
that.
how she looked.
Right. So
Well,
we never get a
we don't
description.
know that she aged or de-aged.
True. I always like to imagine when Celise comes in, the queen, she sees her as the old hag, and still, because of her devotion, doesn't factor into anything. She may already know this, because she's the most devout of them all.
I always assume that she doesn't look the same way to every person.
You know what? That's a really good question. I wonder when we get other people describing her, is it different than what we just got from Crescent?
Well, it was a very distinct way of describing her hair as well. It hasn't been described that way as thing. Others say it's red like fire, not a copper color.
Right. Right. True. Could I just say two of my favorite ones tonight? One from Jane. Would her ruby shine if she is getting tossed off the wall by John? And then Johnny, Skinwalker, says Sporking has the voice of an angel who ate hot potatoes.
Better than if you ate hot pie.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. No, Stig, I agree with you. We only see her old in the show. What I'm saying is, in her one POV, I read it when I was reading it, when she takes that off, and we factor in that we think she's old, real old. I wonder when Celise comes in, because she's the only other person to enter the room, does she see her as an old hag? But yet, like, I can't remember how Celise reacts when she first walks in, but I read it the second time believing she sees this old hag, but is still so devout and under her spell that it doesn't even really phase her. I don't know. Please, guys, anything about the chapter?
I
mean,
had
we get-
completely forgotten that Davos figured out that he was poisoning her. I didn't remember reading that the last time.
Yeah. And that's another thing which I think Melisandre is also aware of, because she's always working against Davos throughout the book.
Mm-hmm.
But I do love how we're introduced to so many important characters going on. We meet Davos, we meet Melisandre, we meet Stannis, Selene, Shireen, Hatchface. I got the hiccups now. Excuse me. Yep. All from like a guy who dies. Please speak amongst yourselves, guys. Someone throw something out there.
I understand where Stannis didn't want to, discount his wife in public, but for somebody that basically took the place of his father,
Right.
it still blows my mind that he would, treat him like a fool.
Yep. Yeah, and Jane is right. This entire side of the story is nuts. Like,
That's true.
It does bother me that, he does stop her at one point, like, you go too far, woman, but he is just the allowing her to put that tin hat, the antler helmet on him. That's where you realize Stannis has, to me, stepped over the line. Like, there's no coming back for Stannis. He has made his decision, out with the old and in with people that are telling him he is going to win no matter what, because God is on his side, whatever. Because he doesn't really factor into the belief of this, if ever, not for quite a while, even with the shadow baby and everything. He just wants to hear people tell him he is the rightful king. Everyone should bow to him. He shouldn't have to go begging to anybody, and he will win. And that's Crescent wouldn't do it because he was being his honest self with the boy he raised as a son almost. And it's a sad, it's one of the sadder stories that we hear. Like Varamir six skins, who cares if he drops dead? Awesome for what's his name from the first one? Not Aaron, but the kid who dies in the first one, the stand-in for Jon. I forget his name again. I'm blanking. Because I have red wine in my head. It starts with an R. Anyone? The first prologue, Game of Thrones? Anyone? Waymore Royce. Royce, like I didn't care that he died. I kind of felt bad for the kid from the Citadel that dies in the other prologue. But it's this one that like it's like heart wrenching. Like you feel this, like this old man. I knew you'd come, Stig. I knew it. You, but I'll finish my thought and then Stig, please. You read about this old man who everything is failing him. His body, his relationships, but his mind is still sharp and still wants to be of service so much to his Lord that he's willing to die for him. And he dies like a fool with a fool's hat on. Stannis, how about you, sir?
Hi.
How
Sorry
are
for
you?
being
my
late.
friend? No worries.
Been sleeping for 10 hours. I tried to
Oh, wow.
chloroform Jane, and then I just woke up 10 hours later. I don't know what happened.
Hey, can you tell me if this smells?
Yeah, yeah. Do you like my
Yeah.
perfume, sir? And then yeah. And then I
Yeah.
woke up 10 hours later.
What do you think of this prologue?
It's awesome. And maybe it might be my favorite prologue.
Yeah.
I think in the show when Melisandre dies from removing the necklace,
Mm-hmm.
why didn't she die earlier in the show when she also removed the necklace? It's so stupid, isn't it?
Yeah, I see. I didn't think that was what it was, but you're right. That's what they probably made it to be.
Yeah.
I thought she just used too much power and took off the necklace to die as she was, who she really is.
Well,
But they didn't think that.
doesn't drain her. It doesn't drain her when she uses magic. Because the magic is used through her.
Right. She's just a vessel.
She basically just prays for stuff to happen, and then sometimes it does happen. But I did make a note of some of the chapter she was in book 5 at the wall.
Mm-hmm.
She basically admits to Jon that most of the stuff she does is alchemy.
Yeah,
it's tricks.
Yep.
The only real magic I've seen her do is the shadow baby and the glamorous spell, because that's explained as a spell. And I noticed that the faceless men also use glamorous spells.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, so there is a link there.
Yeah, there is. And the faceless men are brought up in this chapter when they're talking about the poison. So they're already throwing them in so you're in that same chapter with him. You know, like that's the stuff
Yeah.
George does. Just a throwaway line about some faceless people, but he's connecting them.
I think this is why Melisandre feels more powerful at the wall, because she is closer to the source. She has a better, Wi-Fi, magic Wi-Fi at the wall.
Yep.
And it's also interesting that she could not use what was it? She couldn't use her magic until she had passed under a magical barrier at Storm's End.
Yes.
Because it had something similar to the wall. So she had to go under it and pass it.
So,
but what is happening here then? Go ahead, Mason.
I think Storm's End had like runes or something carved into the stone. And that's why she had to go under it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she had to pass it. Otherwise, her magic wouldn't be able to pass the runes.
Right. She had to be. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. She couldn't go in it to use the shadow baby. She had to go under. Yeah. She had to go under it.
I think there's two explanations though to the poison thing. One is she is in fact quite dead. I have a sneaking suspicion that if you poison Lady Stoneheart,
she wouldn't die.
It's going to have the same. It's not going to do anything. But the other explanation is if we go back to the alchemy and all that stuff, and she has visions in the flame.
Yep.
She might have known of the poisoning, and then just taken an antidote that she had made herself through alchemy. So it's one of those two, I think.
Yeah, and real quick, he says Mel noticed that Davos noticed. I don't know if she actually saw him notice, but I think she sees more. She notices things that other people aren't watching. She's watching everything. Because from this point on, you never see her with any positive relationship with Davos, but that could be because Davos is still that voice of Westeros, that voice of reason, the Crescent of the group. He kind of steps in that hole that's left by the death, or, she gets some type of sense that Davos knew what was about to happen and still let it happen. I kind of wonder about that one. I think she realizes that Davos doesn't mind if she died or not. But could it have been, like we were saying this before, because I said maybe she's from Ashai, she built up a tolerance to certain poisons, or she took something before, but because she also, just like Crescent, who says he has all these pockets in his sleeves, we find out she does too. So could she have saw what was dropped in and took something quickly? I don't know. Or is it the ruby?
She would have had to know what type of poison it is, though. Because an
but
antidote
remember,
doesn't make you immune to every poison.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
Remember that he did leave those crystals on the parchment on his desk. Yeah.
Yes. And where was Pylos, the kid who's always with him, helping him? He was already at the table. So he might have saw it and let her know. That's why he didn't, he just, all right. You're right. He left it out and he slept too long. So someone could have easily, he was in a dead sleep. Someone could have came in, saw it and told her, or she could have.
Yeah. Also, because it's told from his perspective, he might not have noticed that Melisandre saw him. We just know that he noticed that Davos did. So she could have easily done it. And then she goes, okay, so yeah, everything that Pylos said is true, or whatever it is. And yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And also, we don't really know that she drank it, even though it's stated he thought that she did.
Well, I mean, yeah, let's see how it's said. She met him beneath the table, but Crescent saw only blah, blah, blah. She had a smile. Her skin felt hot. It's not too late to spill the wine, Maester. So she knew what was in it. As you will, Melisandre of Ashai took the cup from his hands and drank long and deep. So, I mean, in front of everybody, she's doing that. Now, again, we are seeing it from his point of view, but wouldn't someone have said, hey, she's pouring it down the side? Like, she's like, oh, I'm totally drinking this. Yeah. I mean, she definitely drank it. Maybe she has a tolerance and like, she's like, excuse me, and goes and pukes it up. I don't know. We only see it from a dead man's point of view.
Isn't it the same poison that was used against Joffrey?
Yep, the Strangler. And now Patchface has a bunch of stuff. You know, he's telling us on and on that the shadow is here to stay, my lord. So I think that is to Crescent. Yo, man, she's not going anywhere. So stop what you're trying to do and just retire. He also has
way ran into him and knocked his cane over.
Yeah, trying to stop him maybe. Under the sea, no one wears hats. I know. Oh. That one I always wonder, like, under the sea, no one wears hats. I don't know what that's all about. But then you have the one where he's talking about the colors. Go ahead.
So, like, going under the sea is kind of like you dying, and Mr. Crescent died wearing the helmet. So now he's going to go to the afterlife or whatever, and he doesn't have to wear the fool's helmet anymore.
Yeah, because everything he says under the sea is usually like the opposite of what he means above the sea.
Yeah.
But is it? I don't know.
Someone had a vision of Patchface and they got scared shitless of him. They didn't know he's damn, damn dangerous.
Yeah. Is it Melisandre that she's frightened of him?
Yeah. I think maybe was it Daenerys that had a vision? Was it Arya?
Or was it the Witch of Hearthome? I don't remember who else did. I know Melisandre gets the heebie-jeebies and is terrified of him.
Yeah, I think the witch does have a vision of him.
Well, no, that makes sense. If she's a fire wight and he's a water wight, water puts out fire.
Yep.
Yeah, he's gonna splash her.
That is a good one. One man show said something. He said maybe he means maybe the poison she knew it was heavy, so she took out mostly just wine and left the heavy part at the bottom. But I remember, doesn't Joffrey just take a swig? I don't know if does he empty the cup by drinking it? I don't remember. That's a good question.
Finishes the cup after he starts to cough, thinking that it was the pie that was too dry. So he then finishes his goblet.
Yeah, the one where he's talking about the colors is the one that that's a good one. Somewhere at the top here, somewhere. I'm just looking on the side. Sorry. Yeah, it must be this one. Where does it say it?
If they're talking about under the sea being when you die, and he says under the sea you don't wear a hat, basically saying that you're not going to be seen as a fool now that you're dead.
Yeah,
maybe more humiliation.
I mean that is a good point right there. I like that. The other one, he says it is always, and always is in italic. It is always summer under the sea. The merwives wear anemones in their hair and weave gowns of silver seaweed. That one I'm gonna have to think about. That's interesting. And then he says under the sea.
I still think that's the Sansa and her headpiece.
Yeah, because I believe it's silver with the purple. Under the sea, it snows up, and the rain is dry as bone. I know. Oh.
Okay, so the rain could be ash falling because ash is dry. So that's one way of looking at it. Jon Snow is up. He's alive. He's back. and he's bringing forth all this death because he's, the bad guy now.
That would be awesome. I don't know. I just realized it's 10 o'clock after 10 though. Is there now in this one, is there I don't remember if there's a prologue or epilogue. Let's see. Epilogue. We need an epilogue.
Storm of Swords has a prologue and an epilogue.
Yeah.
A Feast for Crows has a prologue but no epilogue. Dance of Dragons has a prologue and an epilogue. And the Clash of Kings are missing epilogues. So there's no epilogue in the Clash of Kings.
Yeah. Holy crap. I'm just reading, I think is the last chapter, which is chapter 69, Bran. And the first line is, the ashes fell like a soft gray snow.
Well, there you go. See?
Shit. It could be that,
Yeah, that's something that George does a lot, is like the first chapter and the last chapter mirror each other.
Mm-hmm.
Like, in the first one you have, Ned killing the Night's Watch deserter, and then he gets his head cut off by the same sword.
Yeah, but even
Very
more than that,
symmetrical.
in Game of Thrones, the first is the prologue, which is the White Walker magic, the others, and then the last chapter, because they don't have an epilogue, but it's the last chapter is Dany walking into the pit and raising her dragons. So you have ice and fire start and finish.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fire and ice and fire.
Yeah. So I wonder.
Yeah, and the third book isn't the prologue about Chet or something? So is it White Walker related?
I think so. That sounds right.
Because the last one is
Get the Wildling.
The last one is the reveal of Lady Stoneheart.
The
epilogue.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You're right. The last one. So you're talking. So a storm of swords. The prologue is, the day was gray and bitter, and the dogs would not take the scent. So yeah, it's about Chet. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh shit! I didn't even realize that. He really mirrors them. That's a good one. Yeah, Chet. The plan was Chet's. He was a clever one. Yeah, no, Chet, you were not. So that is what we're gonna read next week. A Storm of Swords prologue. Hopefully I'll read it quicker, or AI will read it for me. One of them, please. It was definitely good. So I hope I'm sorry to cut it right after. I got to get up early, and my wife has to drive me to work because my car's freaking dead. So thank you to everybody for coming tonight. Stig, thanks for jumping on at the end. Mason, glad you could make it this week. Bad Takes and Grant, love you guys. Hopefully Teresa can join us one of these next ones. But next Tuesday, we will be doing a Storm of Swords prologue. And I hope everybody has a good night. Anybody have anything they want to plug before they go?
Nope. Have a good week. Stay safe. Don't let the weather get you wherever you are. It's been crazy.
Yeah. And real quick, I will also have, I haven't even opened the package that Sean sent me, so I will have a short video doing a unboxing or whatever they call it. So thank you to Sean again. It was really nice of him. And I hope once again you all have a great one. And as usual, Gary did not make it. I am so Johnny, you'll be the first one I tell if he ever does come back to the show, the channel, whatever it is.
No, we're gonna get him on, but we're gonna literally tell no one. We're not gonna do a single post.
It won't be until he's actually he's physically here, and then we'll shoot out a tweet. Oh, all right, guys, have a great night. Thank you.
Okay, see you. Bye.
See you. Bye. You know.